So Richard,
How...
Thorne's actually gay. Oh.
Oh, well, good for him. Like this, I mean, that's fine. It's all rumors.
See, he had the pass the entire time. Nobody knew.
All right, so welcome to Peaker's Advantage, episode 18, with our lovely, wonderful guest, Richard Lewis, of course. As always, thank you so much for coming on for our first live show. Don't know if this is going to be a continual thing, but I appreciate you coming on for our first live one.
Yeah, happy to do it, buddy. As I said, I think we need a bit more content creation going on in the CSGO space. There's a lot of kind of like podcasts that are on the cusp of kind of breaking out, but not really a lot of live content. So, I'm glad you guys are making a big push.
What do you think the difference is between live and just like normal podcasts? Because like I come from like I watch a lot of bodybuilding stuff, and most of that shit is pre-recorded. It's almost never
You're
live.
Into bodybuilding?
No, I just mean like those are the podcasts of like Joe Rogan. I know he does it live, I think, but I don't usually watch it live.
Anymore.
Like, is there not anymore?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
is there like a
doing
difference in live versus not
one? I think the one good thing Twitch has going for it, like over YouTube, and I've talked about this quite a bit with like Trainwrecks and guys like that, is that it's the level of artifice is completely different. Like when you're doing a Twitch stream, it's you. You know what I mean? If you're wearing a mask, it's gonna slip. You're streaming for 8 hours a fucking day every day. Yeah, exactly. There's no edits. It's live TV. It's like live cable access TV. It's a bunch of fucking amateurs putting a camera in their face for hours at a time. Crazy shit's gonna happen. Crazy shit's gonna come tumbling out your mouth. I think YouTubers, they always get to sit down, edit their shit. It's the best take. And that's why a lot of people, when they have the aspirational element of like wanting to get into broadcasting, they look at YouTubers because everything they do is so polished, so perfect, but it's all bullshit. Twitch streamers, man, we're fucking grimy as fuck, right? We wake up, we're hungover, we're gross, we got yellow fur on our tongue. You can see it all. Eyes like piss holes in the snow. You can tell when we're having a bad day. You can tell when we're not vibing with the audience. And I think a lot of people really appreciate that kind of like realness and authenticity. So when it comes to like content creation, I think having like, it's why we started doing By the Numbers live, because it used to be like a pre-recorded show. But when we brought it back, I was like, let's do it live, because there's always this little bit of an edge that Thorin might just fucking tumble off the cliff and go nuts. And I think that excitement definitely adds to the spectacle of the show. And anybody who watches the show will tell you what you get on Twitch compared to what we put out on YouTube. It is different. You have to kind of be there.
Absolutely.
Live. Yeah, it creates a little bit of an event and an occasion about it. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that originally when I decided to do this relaunch this, I wanted to do it live, but the big difference between our show and your show is that you guys don't have guests on your show, right? It's you and Thorin. Besides the one crossover episode we did where me and Corey came on.
Yeah, and we have the Christmas episodes. We have people come on as well.
Right. But for the most part, it's just you and Thorin doing the show every week. So you guys know you're responsible for what you say. It's your thing. It's your show. It's whatever. For us, we have guests on, and a lot of the times it's pro players or influential people in the scene. And I can tell you, just in the last recent episodes, we've had them come back and ask, hey, can you just cut that out? Like, can you just cut that out of the end of the video? I don't want that in there. And that happens sometimes. And that's really why I decided originally to do it recorded, was because I wanted people to want to come on. And when it's live, it's less likely that you're going to get players to come on, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Pro players go way too much to fucking lose if they say something.
Exactly. It's not worth it. And I understand that point of view also. Like, I get it. Like, I understand why that's the case. I was somebody who never really cared about doing live stuff and never really cared too much about what I say. Although there is times, like, we'll get into this next. I have this topic I want to ask you about. We'll move into it next. But pretty much when you're a pro player, you do have to be careful about what you say, not only for yourself, like not just to preserve your own career or your own stuff, but there's also, you have your team you're representing. You also are representing your teammates when you're saying things like that. People, maybe that's more of a traditional classic sports background for me anyways, but that's how I grew up. That's how I was raised in team environments, is you represent the whole team, not just yourself. So you don't get to just say dumb shit, because that's embarrassing for your teammates, and don't embarrass your
crucially
teammates.
The sponsors, right? That's what's going to get your ass fucking lit up by your manager. If you just announce a big sponsorship with an energy drink provider, and then for some reason you sat live on a podcast and somebody goes, you know, oh hey, like I'm drinking this Monster, and you go like, fucking, oh, I fucking hate Monster, I fucking hate energy drinks, they're fucking bad for you, you know, didn't that motherfucker die in like Greece or something? And then, you know, like that's gonna get clipped, then there's some explaining to do, and maybe you lose $1 million sponsorship deal just because of some throwaway sentence.
Exactly.
You know, such are the times that we live in. It ain't even just about cancel culture. It's that no sponsor has the robust nature, because it's fucking corporate America, you know. They don't have the robust nature to kind of say it's okay if a guy who plays for a team that endorses our product doesn't actually use or necessarily like our product. No corporation in America is going to allow that. There was like a situation recently where like some guy who was doing a stream for McDonald's, I forget his name off the top of my head. Jericho, that's the motherfucker. I mean,
I was going to talk about this too, but
yeah, he's as vanilla as shit. Like I don't dig his stuff. But he fucking was so dumb. Like he made a reference to like a Whopper while doing a sponsor.
He said McDonald's. He was supposed to say something about Big Mac tokens, and he accidentally said Whopper tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead,
that's a pretty big fuck up, though. I'll be real.
No, yeah. No. I'm not defending that. By the way, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I just want to say I really like Jericho. Super nice guy. So like, you know.
I like give a shit. I don't even care to know him.
No, I know. Fair enough. You don't. I just want to point out that I play CS with him sometimes. So I'm just publicly stating that even though Richard said all these terrible things about him before the show started too.
Well, there you go. This is case in point. This is why you don't do live.
Richard was telling me about how like he actually like if you guys could hear the stuff he was saying about Jericho before the show started. Oh man, but no, now that that's live, I just want to publicly say that I like him. So that's fine with me.
I'm glad you got it.
I don't know who he is.
But you know,
I take Richard's side. He's a pussy.
Yeah, McDonald's, like, you know, obviously got super triggered about that, and now they're like saying, "Well, we're not gonna spend with Twitch again if this is like the standard."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that feels a bit of an overreaction. You know, you could style that out and make a joke, and I just think there's this wonderful disconnect between like how corporations, they have these like fake brand Twitter accounts, you know what I mean, where they like argue with each other, where like Wendy's are like going, "Oh, yo mama," and it's like people are going, "Oh shit, oh snap, Wendy's official corporate Twitter account just dunked." Are you people fucking dumb? Like what's going on with your fucking brain?
Yeah, that is the answer.
Yeah, well, of course, they're fucking morons.
There's social media interns just tweeting at each other.
Oh my God, Brand A is like fighting with Brand B. Oh my God, like,
dude,
like
they said their nuggets were better, dude. Oh.
Yeah,
and like when Michael Phelps like got seen smoking weed, and Kellogg's and everyone pulled. It's like no one gives a shit, dude.
Yeah, like
is that smoking more?
Like, you do realize cereal and weed
go hand in hand.
That's your prime market.
Yeah, right? It's like Kellogg's, for fuck's sake, like. But yeah, it's just so fucking bizarre that on the one hand they want to appear like edgy and funny and cool and like trick you into thinking, and then meanwhile anyone else ever fucks up.
Some companies do a better job than others. Like some, like you said, it's just kind of corny jokes, but some of them are clever, and like those I give props to. You know, like if they make a nice like funny picture.
Yeah. I also want to point out to you, I remember this from this a couple of weeks ago, but I'll shout out your sponsor right now, even though of course they don't sponsor us, Rivalry. I remember when there was people tweeting at you trying to give you shit, saying like, "Oh, you need to if your employers knew how you behaved," and Rivalry just retweets the classic the Lord of the Rings, but you have no power, and I saw that, and I was imagining I was like in my head, I was imagining some dude in a suit in an office, like Rivalry up behind him, and he's leaning back and he's doing the Gandalf. It's like, "You have no power."
They're just regular dudes. They're just regular dudes, like just regular people who like esports. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to partner up with them. You know, besides the money. And
it's a small perk.
Yeah, it's just a small perk in a job, really. No, but I mean, it's like, I don't work with a lot of sponsors because generally they want like outrageous, heinous shit, and they want to like stifle you and make you something into what you're not. And like, I'm not gonna do that. I tell everybody going in, like I said, I've left $200,000 sponsorship deals on the table because I think the company sucks. And it's just like I'm just not gonna put my name to something that I don't believe in. Rivalry were like the first ones who were like, "Listen, we know you're a fucking edgelord and a controversial figure. Like that's what we want to get on board with. As well as obviously the fact that, you know, we're going to lay open all the books bare so you can like have a look and make sure we're doing everything proper, and we got all our licenses and we got all protections in place so people don't get fucking jacked up on gambling and get addicted to it. And, you know, we spent months going back and forth before I agreed. And, you know, I mean, there's not many sponsors that would be like, even let you do that. They would just be like, look, do you want the fucking money or don't you? Like, you know, that's generally the conversation you have. So me and Rivalry have a real good relationship. But I mean, again, just to put it into context about how cool they are, obviously Duncan and Rivalry had like a fucking argument, and we brought it up and By the Numbers, which is obviously a show they sponsor. And, you know, he was like saying, yeah, you fuck those guys. It's like, it's on. You know, we just did a sponsor read like 5 minutes ago, but, you know, they're just cool about it. And I think that's the attitude you have to have. Like, it's, you know, it's not like the Streisand effect, but there should be a term for it where it's like sponsors in wanting to try and, you know, appeal to more people. They're so protective of their brands. It's actually a big turnoff. You're not going to win everybody over. No brand does that, but you can definitely win a lot more people to your cause, not just by not being so fucking precious about your products.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody in esports, like any brands in esports who have really fucked that up, like where it felt like they really overreacted to something stupid.
Did you see what Final Mouse did recently?
No, I didn't.
So, like, obviously, Final Mouse, you know, they do like these custom, you know, mice or whatever, and people order them because they're like limited runs. So people like order them in bulk, and I think there's like some automated system. So their Twitter account like said, we've caught all the gremlins that are like doing the mass automated orders and then like doing chargebacks. And they had like on their phone, and they scrolled through the database, and you could see people's names, addresses. Like, and they were scrolling through going, look at all the gremlins we've detected. I'm like, you know, I'm not an expert in GDPR, but I'm pretty sure you're fucking it up real bad right now. And I thought that was that was pretty outrageous. And that happened like just a few, like, I want to say a couple of months ago, maybe. That didn't even blow up. No one even.
You can't be. I had no idea that even happened. But yeah, you can't be tweeting out people's addresses if you're Final Mouse. That's definitely
funny story. When Final Mouse came out, I honestly thought that they were just going to make one mouse, like it was the final mouse. You know, like this is the last one. And then they kept coming out with more, and I was kind of like, "What the fuck is this shit? You can't call yourself Final Mouse."
The return of Final Mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not.
I'm not a supporter of Final Mouse.
I mean, like, and I
bold public stance, Corey. Bold public stance.
Whatever it was. Headshot. I was like, I'm done. I'm fucking all the way out.
I bet they made a ton of money off of that though. Like that was good branding
morons,
for sure.
People morons.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they are. They are. You have to take advantage of the morons, Rich. If you're them, that's what you do.
You
take advantage of the stupidity.
Trying to save the morons.
I know. You keep trying to help the morons. You take advantage of them.
Yeah, I know. I gotta fucking stop. It's been a thorn in my side for 20 fucking years.
Captain Save a Ho.
It's like you just see them. It's like the old game Lemmings, you know, where they're just about to walk off the cliff, and you just like, no, stop building steps for them. Like, no, morons, please turn around. Like, don't go off the cliff, morons. I've been doing that for like 20 fucking years. I just got to accept that as soon as I'm not there, the moron's gonna walk off the cliff. Just let him go.
Yeah, like, just let it down. The sooner the better.
Farewell, sweet morons. Yeah. We had so many good times. Like, just fuck them.
Yep. All right. So speaking of morons, we have this Cloud9 roster change that they have made, and it is
Cloud9. I like it. Nice, Davey.
Thank you. Yes, they have. So in their roster that they announced maybe a month ago, it was obviously TenZ, Kusta, Daps. Fuck, every time I think about this, Mixwell and Automatic. Ooh, nice, I did it. All right, so they have now, within a month, they have released not released him, benched him, and picked up Subroza. That I'm not going to say that's full moron yet, but I don't agree with it. I think that I think that you have to give him a little bit more time than that. But I think that also players, despite what people may think and despite some things that may have happened in the past, I will say that players don't make roster changes unless they think it's going to make their team better. So,
well, in their defense, like it seemed like TenZ was kind of having like an attitude.
All right, so okay, I know I'm going to go into this. So this was sort of my point. This is what I was leading into, is that although on paper you think you can't cut a kid after a month, like the team's not even, you don't even have a chance to gel yet. But then the genius himself
Oh fuck me!
went and streamed right after getting benched, and people are obviously asking him, "Why did you get benched, TenZ? What happened?" So I don't have the clips. If any subs or mods in the chat want to link the clips, that would be fine with me. Go for it if you have them. But I'll just give a quick summary to everybody here who hasn't seen them. Alex, Corey, I don't know if you've seen them. Rich, I'm assuming you have, based on your reaction. I'm assuming you've seen the clips. Yeah. So somebody asked him, TenZ, why did you get benched? And he said, this is a summary. This isn't verbatim, everybody, just so you know. So don't, it's not perfect. But he pretty much said that, well, I just didn't agree with our style of play. I thought that we should have been playing a different style of play. And when we were losing games, it was obvious that our style of play wasn't working. And so I couldn't give my 100% because I didn't agree with the style. And then he geniusly pointed out that he was the only one arguing with the style of play, and all 4 other players and the coach were on board with the style of play. And he was the only one who didn't like it, was arguing about it, wasn't giving his 100%, and then complained when they lost.
My favorite thing is the percentage thing that he said, he's like, yeah, in the FURIA game, I gave 100% and we just still lost. And I was just thinking, like, so what does that mean? You're like, weren't giving 100% in the other games? Well, like, this is the first time you decided to try? Like,
the best part about it is it's like, hey, welcome to fucking competition. Sometimes you give 100% and you still fucking lose. That's how it works. You don't just like, well, I tried my best and we won every time. Like, that's not how it fucking works, man. And if you have and I went on this little rant on stream, but I'm going to go on a little rant here again before I pass it over to you guys to talk a little bit more, because this is so fucking ridiculous. You're TenZ. You're 19 years old. You get the chance to play for Cloud9. As Daps as your in-game leader. Unquestionably, one of the best in-game leaders we have in the North American scene ever. As far as accomplishments go, as far as history of building fucking teams, look at the teams he's built. And you are going to argue with him about the style of play. No, this isn't like an equal level team thing. You don't get to just give at the end of every
his aim bots time.
Dude, at the end of every game you lose, you don't get to give tactical insight to Dabs. You don't get to say, hey man, we should change the style. Hey man, we should say no. You need to sit down and you fucking listen. And when Dabs tells you what to do, you fucking do it. And you give 100%. And when Automatic tells you you should be doing this differently, you just fucking do it. You don't get to have an opinion anymore. That's not how this works. I know in an ideal world, everyone on the team gets to give their input. No. You listen and you learn and you get better. That is your job when you're a 19-year-old joining Cloud9 with players who have won majors, who have won major tournaments, who have played professionally since before you could even touch a mouse and keyboard competently. They're playing professionally. You sit and you fucking listen and you learn and you don't argue with them over the style of play. You are working with one of the best in-game leaders in North American CS history. You fucking work with that. You deal with that. You listen. You don't argue. And you try your fucking best. Bare minimum. None of this. Well, this game I tried 100%. In this game I just couldn't. No. You give 100% every fucking time, no matter what, because you have the opportunity that these players would fucking kill for.
Wants to instantly win. Like, they don't want to work for it, right? They want to join a team and be the best. So, and then it doesn't happen, and they're
I mean, he's fallen into the, classic trap that a lot of young players do. When they're pug stars, they get fucking so much smoke blown up their ass by guys, funnily enough, like Daps, people who can see their potential, and then that spills over into people talking about them on Reddit and Twitter and social media, and you've seen these nutty clips. Like, nutty clips don't mean fucking shit. They don't mean shit. They're not even a representation of skill ceiling, frankly. Nope. Everybody gets one, right? On a good week. And unfortunately, what starts happening is the players that are pug stars, when they sit in a structured team, they then think it's going to be like that. Like, you're going to be able to run around like a headless chicken, popping people's heads off, catching people off guard because no one's doing executes, no one's trying, no one's playing in a structured environment. It's just constant aim duels, and you win and you win and you win because you're young, you're a zoomer with fucking Twitch aim, right? And you think it's going to be like that when you join a structured team. And then you get in a structured team, and it ain't like that, and you're having to do donkey work that you think is beneath you. It ain't. Spoiler, you need to learn that shit. Everyone needs the foundational aspects of Counter-Strike if you want to play pro. And then on top of that, you start losing. And those people that were like jerking you off in public are like saying, oh, he deserves better than this. Oh, he's doing that. Or even worse, they immediately fucking turn on you and you think, shit, I got to get the gallery back. I got to win the gallery back to my side. They're the people that are really going to give me a career. It's like, it's so mind blowing to me that TenZ is this dumb. Because first of all, Daps is the guy that was basically like saying this guy's got potential, he needs to be on a team. He's Daps's pick, he's Daps's boy. And then you spend games pissing and moaning at your in-game leader that you don't like the style of play and that because you're losing it needs to change. It's like, it's so mind-blowing to me. And I think to then say that publicly,
no, that's the craziest part about the whole thing. If he didn't say shit, none of this would have came out, and the community would all be on fucking TenZ's side because he's the highlight guy who streams FPL and has the aimbots record and all that shit. But then he comes out publicly and this is like the fucking.
Yeah, but he's
Ricky
doing it for the
Twitlonger.
gallery. Like, he doesn't realize in his fucking Zoomer brain, he doesn't realize that actually, like, everybody who matters in the scene, they're gonna listen to that and go, fucking gross. Like, who the fuck wants this kid?
Exactly what I was
on a
saying.
team. But like all the people in the gallery are going, oh well, you know, it sounds like actually maybe Daps wasn't using him in the best way, and he's going to retreat to some little fucking echo chamber of other wannabe fucking 16-year-old pro players that all think it's going to be them next. Spoiler, it's not. And he's going to start listening to that. That's where he's going to get his feedback from. I've seen this happen to so fucking many players, and it's very hard to break out of. You want a notable example? Like Stewie's an example of a guy that this could have easily happened to, but fortunately enough, Stewie's smart enough that he actually listened to the right people and was able to do something with his career. You know, but for every fucking Stewie, I'm sure you guys know fucking dozens of examples of players that thought they were hot shit.
I can give you myself as an example. I was the same way, and I've talked about this many times before. When Splice had like our major run and we were like actually going to tournaments and we were doing not very well, but I was always putting up good numbers, and I have everyone in the community, other players, I see, oh, you're better than this, you're better than me, and you start to really believe it. And then I've talked about this again before. There was like I almost joined Liquid. It was really close to happening. Valve roster lock major rules actually prevented it because our manager at the time submitted our roster for the major qualifier early, so then I was locked in and I couldn't move teams. I think they've since changed that rule now, because before it was as soon as you submit your roster, it's submitted, even if it was early. Whereas now I think it's just like the roster lock deadline just happens on one day. Even if you submit a roster early, you can then change it before the deadline. But there's a hard deadline now, whereas before that wasn't the case. So anyway, I had this massive ego, thinking I was way better than I was, and I was too good for my teammates and all this other shit. And that really does get to you when that happens. And then you have to really get knocked down a bit, and just and then you talk to some people that you really trust and talk to some people that you really like. Like Arya was big
TenZ
for
is
that.
Definitely about to get knocked down a bit.
Yeah,
he just threw away a fucking contract with Cloud9.
Well, fortunately for me, I was smart enough not to go, and I never talked shit about anybody publicly. That was never my thing. I never did any of that. I never went and ego tripped publicly. Even though in the back of my head, I always was at the time. It was never a public thing for me, which was beneficial for me. At least I got to extend my career a bit longer that way. But yeah, no, he doesn't realize, and I was saying this on my stream, he thinks he's just making a comment to the masses, you know, like, oh, we just didn't like that, I just didn't agree with the style, blah, blah, blah. No good team is going to touch you now, man. No one. Like, you are going to have to seriously climb back up. No pro team.
If he thought he was having a tough time playing on this Cloud9 side with fucking Daps, who is clearly an admirer of his ability, well, I don't know what's next for you. United, enjoy that, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people don't even understand that, like, Cloud9's playstyle is fairly. I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. Like, it's not loose, but it's very defaulty with a lot of freedom if you're not a moron. So, like, you get to split up. You got to work your spot. Your goal is not to die. Your caller info, but you're allowed to make your own executive decisions. If you think you can kill someone, their playstyle is designed for that. So, like, if TenZ ever thought, like, oh, I can just lurk this smoke and kill someone, assuming in scrims you've done it and, you know, it's like a good idea, the coach is not going to say, oh, fuck you because you die sometimes. You know, like, it's supposed to be calculated, right? Like, you're not supposed to do dumb shit like jump through smoke just for no reason. But if you have a feeling, you're supposed to go and get the kill. That's how they won the major. That's how they did good, and they're sticking to like that kind of formula. So he shouldn't have really felt completely trapped. I just don't think he was on the level to really play like that with 4 other experienced players. Like he's probably not used to like literally having to interpret 4 other people's comms and then filter that all and then make a decision, the best decision based off of that. So I think that probably got him like a lot.
Yeah, he definitely used to get to be the point man in like any team he was on, but now he has to, you know, take a back seat on some rounds. It's not even that crazy.
Well, the other thing that's even dumber about it is apparently he had said that he wanted more structure, that there wasn't structure enough.
He wanted to be micromanaged, he was saying.
Right, he wanted to be micromanaged,
Yeah.
which is
But what I'm talking about is like,
I was about to say,
there's no micromanaging in that playstyle, but you're micromanaging yourself kind of based off of information.
I was about to say, this goes into what Corey was saying, is that his inexperience in comms, taking in comms, and then making decisions based off of that, as far as actual playing good teams goes, those 3 things are things that he needed to learn. And you need to listen to your in-game leader and listen to the players in your team who are experienced, because once you can, that's like the crucial those are the crucial things about playing high level CS. You have to be able to communicate effectively. You have to be able to take in information and then make a good decision based on the information. And that is the style that Daps plays. That is a style that Cloud9 plays. That is a style that he should have learned how to fucking play. He should have realized that was his weakness and
that's
fucking
the reason
learned.
FNS got cut, because FNS came in and tried to do defaults into strats. He tried to come in and be like, we're going to do these smokes and then we're going to hit the site. And then they were just like, look, we don't like to play like that. We want to play off of our information, our skill and stuff, because FNS isn't like a default into like make your own play. He's more of like a structure. And both styles are fine. You know, there's not like a right or a wrong way. But like if you're someone like TenZ, if he would have sucked it up for 3 months, after 2 months, it would have felt more natural to him. You know, like I'm sure the first couple weeks he probably felt really lost. But if he would have stuck it out and tried, and you watch some demos, well, watch an Olaf demo or something. He's a master of just playing off of fucking comms and making his own little mini plays. You know, sometimes you got to put in more work.
Yeah, and like I say, what blows my mind is the reaction to it. Like when he tweeted out, you know, that thanks to Cloud9, sad it didn't work out due to different play styles. I'm going to continue to work hard. There isn't a single person in there like tweeting at him what he needs to hear, which is, you blew a big fucking opportunity, son. That's what he needs to hear right now. Like, you know, if I could fucking, you know, talk to the kid, you know, that's what I'd be telling him. I'm like, you're going to get your next opportunity. You better fucking make the most of it, because you're not going to get a third. But everyone, of course, is like tweeting to him going, oh, man, you don't deserve to be on the bench. Oh, you're so good. Oh, you're such a sleeper. Oh, my God, I can't believe what Cloud9 are doing. You've got a bright career ahead of you. No, none of this is guaranteed. Do you know how many people in this fucking scene, do you know how many people in esports in general have all the talent to succeed, right? Like actually have the skills, but they're fucked in the head and they're surrounded by people that just encourage those like worst base elements, and they end up wasting their entire fucking, you know, all that talent don't mean shit. Meanwhile, you might have people that are less talented, but who are fucking grinders, know how to get themselves into teams, know how to learn things, know how to ingratiate themselves to others, basically know how to do a role. They do one thing and they do it about as well as they can. Those guys go on and win trophies and make money. Talent, you know, it's great if you got it, but thinking it's the be-all and end-all success is dumb as fuck. And, you know, like, it's sad that this young dude is going to listen to all of those tweets and go, yes, actually, the 100 positive tweets I've received reinforce my opinion that I am objectively correct, when you ain't. You ain't at all. You should have sucked it up, listened to Daps, learned your craft, and see where it took you. And if it wasn't working out after 3 months and you felt like you needed a change, trust me, I'm sure something would have happened. But this is just pathetic to get the big opportunity and then to blow it inside of a month because you don't like what you're being told to do. It's
a lot of the times you don't even get one. A lot of times you don't even get one. Yeah, I got like half of one. I got half. I almost got one, and that's it. Sometimes you don't even fucking get one. Sometimes you don't get that opportunity. You got to be right place, right time. Yeah. Got to get lucky.
Listen, you know, people in the chat picking up on it. Smooey is another good example of this. I've said it for a long time. The kid's talent levels are insane. Like when that big team had him in as the primary AWPer, they were beating top tier teams. They were winning best of threes against some of the best teams in the world. They were having deep tournament runs, like when they got to the final of Cologne, I think it was. Or was it semifinals?
Yeah, no, they got finals.
Yeah,
Cologne.
finals.
Awesome.
You know, like and Smooya was instrumental in that. And then he just out of his fucking mind thought he deserved better. Left the team, fucked them over, left before a major. That's one less major in your career you're going to play in. I don't know why you would ever do that to yourself. And now he's still, he's back in the team and the team sucks ass. So, again, like the self-sabotage instincts, it's like they say, I can't remember, I think it was Freud, maybe. Freud or Jung is one of the classic shrinks.
Yeah.
They say that the reason people are afraid of heights when they stand next to the ledges because they don't trust themselves not to jump.
Yeah, I think that was Young, actually.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of these young players have. They have this self-destructive element, and you put them to the ledge, and they fucking jump every time and ruin what could have been, great glittering careers. And there needs to be more people getting in their ear and telling them, stop doing this to yourself, rather than them listening to fucking these morons on social media that like their opinion is completely invalid. They're just saying what you want to hear.
They can't help it. It's too easy.
Yeah, I also think it's like one of those things where, like, if you want to be a star player and you're like, okay, this sounds kind of greedy, right? But like, if your goal is to be like the star player of a team, don't join Cloud9. You know what I mean? Like, join maybe, like you said, an E United, like another pro league team. You're going to get a salary. You're going to be able to qualify for tournaments, but they're going to make you your focus. You're going to have a little bit more freedom. You're going to have a little bit more slack on like you going for plays and doing more of what you want because you're going to be their like heavy hitter. But you join like a top team, you have to be a bitch for a little bit. You don't just like get like, if he would have started fragging, I'm sure they would have started prioritizing him more, like into a little bit better roles, letting him have more freedom, but you have to kind of prove that.
Yeah, well, you know what they should read up on, Samfis? They should read up on how wrestling works.
Hold on one.
Yeah, no worries.
He can still hear you. You can keep talking. He's got the headphones on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know. I've seen him get up and do his fucking racehorse pisses.
Oh yeah,
with his
yeah. No, he
does
it
I know
all.
he can hear me. But yeah, like they should read up on how wrestling works. The idea that you get to just go into the WWE on fucking day one and they're gonna be putting you in fucking title matches and you're the baby face and all of this. No, it don't work like that. You want to be that guy? Go join Ring of Honor. Go join something. Go join. Another wrestling federation that's not as big, if that's what you crave, or you can play in the bigs, but you got to work your way up and you got to hone your craft and you got to earn the respect of your peers, and eventually you'll get put in. Eventually it'll click, if you're doing everything right. But yeah, I think a lot of these kids these days, they have very unreal expectations. I also think as well, unfortunately, that that they treat CS like it's almost every other esport, and I think they get a little bit antsy that they're going to be washed up at 24. And of course, in CS, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You don't need to worry about the first team you join. You've got to win all the trophies. Then it's not like fucking Overwatch where people are burnt out at 22 because the fucking season never ends. It's not like League of Legends where you've got to learn a brand new game every fucking 90 days and you've got these like unscrupulous owners that just make you grind practice after practice after practice so you actually have a 12-hour
Some of the stuff I've heard for the teams like practicing for like the international, it's like 13 hours a day. Their phones are put in
It's not even effective at that point, by the way.
They're not allowed to go to the movies or anything. Like it's just like you just play Dota all day. Like,
well, everybody knows
the reality is,
speaking as play worse.
Yeah, speaking as a guy that's like done coaching, and like coached kids teams and coached adults teams in rugby and football. The reality is like there's only so much practice, especially if it's like theory crafting, which I would probably think would be the most like comparative thing to what esports is. There's only so much that the practice will do. You can only take so much in. You can only hold so much information. This is proven by almost any study that once you get past like a fucking 6-hour practice session, it's just not good for you. I mean, like I'm trying to think, was it Kasparov, the chess grandmaster? He was like, he wouldn't practice for more than 4 hours a day. And then you had lunatics like fucking Bobby Fischer that they just played all day every day, and both were amazing chess players. We don't really have that variance in esports coaching. We just literally say, hey, here's a best of 3, we'll play it, we'll do demo analysis after, then play another best of 3, and then we'll do that and we'll do it again and again and again, and they just do it repeatedly every day. And yeah, it's not good for people. the level of coaching in esports is really shit.
I was even talking to Lige the other day, and he was saying like his preferred practice is like plays team scrims, so like 6 hours maybe. Play a little bit of DM, get off. Like, you're still putting in time, but like burning yourself out with 12 pugs before you team practice, then you're going to be less focused in your team practice, right?
Exactly
I think there's a time and place for playing more, before a major or something, but if you have always playing 12 hours a day, you can't kind of ramp up, like if you were playing 6 or 7 hours a day and then a big tournament's coming up and you start playing 8 or 9, it's different,
Yeah, the way people think, I think there's like a really flawed just thought process with a lot of the younger kids, and especially the North American scene, that you're washed up as soon as you're above 20 and your aim is just going to diminish entirely. But it's like the dumbest philosophy ever, and it's like, but you'll see guys like Forrest that have been playing for 10 years and his aim is still so crispy all the time. Like it's not, I don't know, Counter-Strike is very mechanical in nature.
Doesn't even play the game. He plays like team practice and surfs. He plays like surf maps.
And he still maintains such raw mechanical skill like today. And it's just like, that's just such a wrong, I don't know. I hear it all the time from younger kids that play in North America. They're like, "Oh, you're over 20, your RWS is gonna go down now in pugs." Or it's like, dude, it's just not how it works at all.
Yeah, not at
RWS,
all.
the good old god statistic.
Yeah, I know, right? But this is what I mean as well. There's like a, there's nobody going out and basically explaining to the kids that like these things don't fucking matter. Like what's actually happening is you've got kids creating teams with younger kids, and they're picking them up on shit like RWS and fucking, and what was your last team and where did they finish in this meaningless amateur league? Like nobody's got any actual metric for what you need, and nobody really even knows what they're looking for.
Look at a player like Crims in Fnatic's era, like just when he wasn't like, cause obviously right now he's like one of the top fraggers on the team, but like back then it was Olaf, JW, and flusha, right? But like Crims is still there, like he'd be the second, third best player. Dude, he was so beneficial just having that player to just be a rock all the time, playing solo sites.
Just to anchor a site all by himself.
Just get a 1 or 2 every time, live. Like he would always clutch 1v1s, 1v2s, he's in the pack, always gets the trade. You never looked at him and you're like, man, this guy's a fucking god. But he just did his shit all the time. Like that, and that makes you good. That makes you better than like a lot of the other players, honestly, because it's a harder role.
Yeah. And there's a lot of players like that. I mean, I always say this about like when I see all the hate like NBK gets, for example, it's like if you go and watch, like, sure, he had a rough time at the last major, and recent form maybe hasn't been all that great for him, towards the end of his tenure in Vitality. But like, just go watch what he does for a team, and you can't really quantify what NBK does bring to a team. It's not always something that has a statistical attribute that you can point to, but when he's on a site by himself, the amount of time he buys for his teammates, just with smart positioning, smart utility usage, it's not even necessarily about getting the frags. He might get killed eventually without even taking anyone down, but generally what he's done, he's created an opportunity for his team to get a very good quick retake.
But Richard, how does that get him a Twitch highlight? It doesn't.
Exactly, right? No, because nobody even knows how to clip that shit. Like, it makes me laugh when you see like stuff like front page today, right? Renegades, they did this bit where they got a kill and they threw a gun across to the guy that was like planting, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, 200 IQ."
No, so wait, so let me break that down. What happened there? So so I saw the title was like 200 IQ gun throw. It was like JKS was up on B plat on Mirage.
Oh, are you talking about when he dropped?
2v2.
Because he dropped in the sound. You mean that?
I don't know. It was a 2 versus 2. JKS was up on the platform. He had shoulder peeked and saw a guy flanking upper B. There was one guy market, and then there was a teammate who had just planted who was on the ground. He picked up an M4, threw it to JKS. Then JKS peeked and killed the guy. It was like 200 IQ gun throw. It's like there was one gun on the ground and he had a gun. So he's like, "Here, JKS, you have this one. I'll take this one." It's like that's standard counter. Like there's nothing. I was gonna say, like
my point was gonna be like, that probably happens in like a ton of games.
Constantly.
Right. But not only that, like, why is that 200 IQ? But a guy like using his terrain, using smokes, using flashes to buy time for his team, And then he dies without maybe getting a kill, but then his team gets the retake. Perhaps even not even a retake. Perhaps they rotate so fast off his comms that they stop them even getting a bomb plant. And he enabled that. Why is that not 200 IQ? And it's not 200 IQ because it can't be quantified in the eye of the average idiot. And it blows my mind because, you know, you read like all these comments about, oh, well, you didn't even understand the game. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you think a dude throwing a gun to another dude is 200 IQ. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I think the example I always use, like some people, you know, they want like on my stream, they ask me or whatever, or, like coaching or whatever. Like they'll be like, so like what's the difference between like a good player and a bad player? Like I'm like, a lot of times it just comes to delaying when they play sites. Like if you play B on cash, right, and you play headshot, and 4 guys come into your screen, you get 1 kill, you get traded. Your rotator has no time to get to you.
Yep.
You have no delay of flashes. But if you like, say you play the site, right? You see them come in, you throw a flash, you throw a smoke on the site, you hide in the smoke, you get a pop flash from your team, you get 1 kill, you die. But it takes them so much longer to to actually get in the site. They're clearing the smoke. They have to take different routes. Your teammates are throwing flashes from heaven. You might not get any more kills, but like the flashes that delay them because they're looking at the smoke makes them take longer to get in the site. It lets everyone get to you like quicker.
Yep, I did a video on the Peekers Advantage channel actually where it was like how to play B on Dust 2. But a lot of the concepts apply across all solo sites, like all of them, where it's like your job, if you're the solo site player, your job is not to get look at them 3K spray down as they run out B tunnels. Like, no, that's not your job because chances are you're going to get traded and you're just going to die. Like, your job is as a solo site player on any map, your job is to stay alive for as long as possible. You know, stay alive as long as you can.
Like my favorite player for that is like Naf. Like one of the things that he's really good at is like, say Elige decides to go stack A, they have a read or something, and he's playing B on Inferno. He'll play spawn or coffins every time because it doesn't matter if he plays first orange, he's gonna get 1 die. If he plays trap box, he gets 1 or dies, and they have the site. At least if he plays the other way, he can throw some nades, spam the smoke, maybe get a cheeky kill, maybe get a kill before the smoke pops, and then he just holds the back holes. When you hold the back holes, you have a chance to retake. If that gets taken, you know what it's like. It's a pointless. Like you may as well just save your guns. Like it's such low % chance. So like those type of plays are what like a lot of low. And don't get me wrong, retaking B in a ESDA pug is really fucking hard, even if you play it right. So it's a little bit different when it's a team like Liquid doing it, but it's still not things a lot of players prioritize. You know, they'll just play like the fountain crouched.
Yeah, when you're by yourself, you really need to be like just delay as long as possible. It's very undervalued in, especially in like in the tier 3 scene. I like tier 2
and another thing people don't realize.
Say.
Oh, it's just really quick. Like if you're playing a retake, they don't know you're the only one there. Yeah. So they're still clearing try box, emo, site. You know, they're spamming. You know what I mean? Like it still takes them a little while to clear everything. They're like, oh, no one's there. You know?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, I see it all the time in like, you know, I know when I'm watching a tier 2 or like a low tier 2 or a tier 3 match, just based on like the mindset of the person that's anchoring the bomb site is, well, I better get 2 or 3 kills. It's like, no, motherfucker, you ain't got to do that at all. Yep. Your entire team's alive. What are you going to run out and die and give them the site for? And you just see it happen all the fucking time. You know, sometimes even with like utility usage, you know, they die with their fucking smokes and flashes, and
it's
kind of fucking criminal.
It's kind of systematic, though, that the people do play like that in the tier 3 scene, because you just look at who did Cloud9 pick up as their 5th? They picked up the person with the best stats in MDL, TenZ. Like, are they going through all the demos to find that person who does that? No, of course not. They don't have the resources.
More research than you think. The coaches and stuff.
Yeah, I know they look at Daps' scouting is off the fucking chain.
Yeah, I will say though, like, as far as this, so go ahead, Alex.
I don't think they're gonna even look at a guy that has like 70 ADR in MDL. Like, it's just that person's just never looked at.
Yeah,
and they might be playing the best counter.
When I was on TSM, we picked up Sick and Vice, and Vice wasn't like nutty or anything stat wise. He was just like a solid player that had like, honestly, his biggest issue in my opinion was his nerves. Like that was the main reason that we didn't play with him longer. It was just like in scrims he'd do everything right, and then we play like a match and like it would just seem like different, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's a classic. That's a classic for new players coming up into the scene. That just like happens sometimes. They just
That's not even talking shit or anything. It was
No,
just
no, no.
like
Sure.
No,
it was
no,
just
no,
like
yeah.
I don't know. It was just like it felt like you could rely on certain players you play with, and in scrims you just rely on them. Like, and then they just hold their shit, and then a match and they just die instantly. And you're just like, what? Are you playing different? Like, is it just like the nerve?
No, it's true. That does happen. That's all through Counter-Strike history. That stuff has been going down. You've played for a lot longer than me. I'm sure you know. Sometimes there's just those players sometimes, especially when they're younger. But we have this weird mix, like we're talking about. We have like a mix. We have like either right now in the scene, we have the players who get nervous in matches and don't play as well, the young kids, or we have the kids whose egos are way too out of control. It's like this weird. There's like almost no middle ground. Like Breeze is like an example of the middle ground,
And
right?
then you
Like
just
he's
got
that
guys
guy.
like Ricky, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, Breeze is actually one of the most humble.
Oh, that's
skill
what I mean. That's what I
yeah,
mean.
totally.
Plays. He's
Yeah.
so nice. Like,
Yeah, he's
and
like
he got bullied a lot coming up. Like people used to say he
Oh,
cheated.
yeah,
Like
he cheated.
people weren't like making fun of his looks or anything, but you know he got a lot of shit for being shady / cheating. Like quite a
I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, as well, it blew my mind because I remember when that Breezy drama happened, right? And I was like, listen, there was some real dodgy motherfuckers out there at the time. I mean, you know, and like I never throw allegations around publicly because people immediately assume it's not just a thought, it's a fact when it comes from me because I'm, you know, I'm a
Yeah,
journalist in
right.
what I do. So, you know, I've never done it. I think the hardest I've gone is, like I said, Flusha definitely had a bunch of dubious clips. I think that's about as hard on the issue as I've ever gone. But you know, there was some other dudes at the time. Like, so first off, everybody was saying Nifty cheated when he first came out, and I was even working with the team at the time. And you know, they would always lose to this Nifty and Mitch combo. Like Mitch was like this insane fucking Deagle player online and would just fucking peek everyone, bang you out. People couldn't even believe what they were seeing. And then, you know, I remember when Nifty and Mitch, because they were both in that Selfless team, I think it was. Well, Mitch didn't even make it to the LAN, if I remember. And Nifty had a really bad first LAN. It was like at Gfinity.
Sivo. Mitch was there. Mitch was at that
Yeah,
event.
well, Mitch was as well. And I was like,
and they got destroyed.
Yeah, they got fucking wrecked. And I was like, I even said it to them because I sat down with them in the bleachers after they got knocked out of the tournament. And I was like, you do know what a bunch of online motherfuckers y'all look like now. Like, right? And they were like so despondent and disheartened. Now, Mitch went on to go fucking nowhere. So make it out what you will. But Nifty was the real deal. I don't think Nifty was cheating. And everyone
I think Mitch is better than Nifty then and now. I think Mitch is a way better. Mitch is a very underrated player. He's going to be killing it on Riot Squad. He does play like a lot of like really support roles on this Riot Squad team, but no, Mitch is really fucking good, and I stand by that.
But that's what blew my mind about when people were banging on Breezy, because Ryu was the manager of that Selfless team, and you had not one, you had two boys who, by the time they went to CSGO, they'd moved over from like Call of Duty, they had virtually no hours in the game, and everybody was calling them cheaters. And Ryu was the guy that was out there like shielding them from that and going, "This is what we do to all young players in the scene." Then Breezy had that one game where he went crazy, and in particular that one clip where he flicked, and it went from it went like 360, and it went up to the top of Dust 2, like on the left of Suicide, and it looked like a snap. Could have easily just been a mouse flick. And when Ryu did that demo analysis on stream, you know, where there was the another clip on Inferno, I think, you know, he was like saying,
Cobble.
"No, this is Cobble,
I remember the Cobble ones.
Yeah, he was like, "This is cheating." And I was like, what, dog? There was dodgy clips of Mitch and Nifty out there. And you knocked all of those down. So it's like, I know Ryu regretted it now because like he came out and said so. But
well, he even signed him to his team after the fact.
Yeah, and signed him in the team, yeah. So
you can't accuse someone off like one clip, man. Like there has to be like more sample size, because
I will say
random shit can happen.
So I was at that event. Obviously, we were playing at that event. I was on Splice at the time, and we were playing there. And we were actually one overtime against a VP away from semifinals, but whatever. It sucks to suck. And I was in like the player like green room area lounge thing, whatever the hell you want to call it, with Rio, and he has his phone out and he's like, "Yo, look at these clips from Breeze. Look at them. Look at this one. Look at this one." And to be fair, he had like 10 clips that he thought were Breeze shooting. And when I was watching them, I was like, "Yeah, man, that is pretty shady. I don't know what to tell you." Because it had just happened against his team. Like all the clips were from one game against his team in an online qualifier that had no anti-cheat. and so he was
Right.
convinced. He was
Yeah,
convinced that he was cheating, and they were
Oh, was
shady
that the good
clips.
old SIVO honor system back then?
Yeah, something like that, dude. I don't remember what it was.
I used to call it the Face It honor system because like you just logged in, no client. It was like
Yeah.
we all agree not to cheat, right, boys?
Yeah. Go team. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
the power of friendship. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, right?
Yeah, that shit.
Um,
Yeah, it was fucking
But
bad.
but yeah, I mean, listen, the fucking, I remember that game. I understand the circumstances around it. I understand it was an online qualifier.
Mhm.
I understood no one had heard of this kid. But again, I look at some of those clips where people were saying it was blatant. I wasn't vibing that it was blatant. There was like maybe 1 or 2 clips that I thought, okay, if he had another 5 or 6 like this, let's talk. But we just beat up on kids in this space. And it's ridiculous. The only 2 people I think that have ever really had a valid argument about for cheating based on the clips we've seen.
Wait, pause. Oh, okay. I know you're about to say flusha. I was gonna guess who you're gonna say.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Before you say it.
No, there's
Flusha
only
Subroza.
2. There's only 2. Yeah.
Flusha and
That's it.
Subroza.
They're the
Yeah,
only
I
2
agree.
people I think we should even be having a public conversation about their validity as players, and that by no means they're guilty of anything. Everyone else is pure bullshit. The fact that Breezy's gone on to be like, he's up there in the talks for the best player in the world right now, especially with Simple dropping off. The way he's playing right now in current form, this kid is a fucking demon. And if he'd been a little bit softer, if he'd been a little bit more of a baby and couldn't cope with the fucking scrutiny and the level of abuse, especially starting out with a fucking well-respected coach coming out and saying objectively you are cheating, we might never have seen that. We might never have seen Rops. We might never have seen a bunch of people come through. So people got to be real careful about that, especially in NA, because people throw those cheat allegations out way too fucking fast. Too fast.
I agree. Like you were saying before, like there's so many clips you see where it's like, dude, that's not a clip. Like that's not a cheating clip. Like that's.
I remember I saw one of Skadoodle. Okay, it was like
Imagine accusing him.
He goes and picks mid with a scout as a CT, misses. And people are like, "Oh yeah, obvious aim lock." And I'm just like, "What in the fuck? Like, are you watching the same clip I watched? Because he just kind of flicked up and didn't hit him. Like, I don't understand.
No, I do think some of them are memes, right? Like I see some like I remember one time there was a clip. It was like on Reddit, and it was like Zeus obvious aim lock, and I'm just sitting there like, wait. Like this has to be a joke. Like this is people trolling. It must be because like the clip, like
Edward was the one everyone said was cheating.
Yeah.
Well, like, I'm like, are you fucking for real, dog? Like, the bottom line is like people don't seem to understand contextual evidence when it comes to cheating allegations. The reason that we say it about flusha is that flusha came from nowhere, had a bunch of clips that were unlike anything we'd seen in the scene at that time, were unexplainable. There was a big proliferation of them. Fnatic were the #1 team in the world at that point. And like I say, flusha built up in a very short space of time clips that really couldn't be explained by just in-game mechanics. Like there was just too much dubiousness about them. And then, crucially, they went away when everything, ramped up, when people like Shocks were coming out and getting recorded saying, "Oh yeah, flusha cheats."
Well, that's the weirdest thing for me is just when they all vanished, because I would still like a Valve employee to come out and tell me if it could have been like a Go TV bug filling in info, because like that's the one thing I've always wondered is like maybe some of the aim locks you saw was like the Go TV kind of like, because it's not 100% exact, so it kind of fills in some info. But at the same time, like someone must understand it well enough to be like, no, that's not what it does, or like, yeah, this is definitely like something that could have happened.
Yeah, and I've always just made the assumption that when you're watching Go TV and you see shit like that, that's what's going on, because it just seems to be to me like every player has a clip like that, but I know from contextual evidence that those players aren't okay, not everyone, but you know,
yeah,
a lot of them.
I wasn't good enough to get a clip.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, you know, the funny thing is, like, you know, when you're a star player, I do think people look a little bit harder. You know,
Yeah.
TenZ had one the other day, right? Like, the idea that if TenZ was only cheating in his pugs is so absurd to me because, you know, he had that clip where he snaps and, like, gets a double kill through the fucking wall on overpass on short. And everybody was saying, like, oh, look, see, he's blatant. He's on the gear. He's cheated his way into Cloud9. He probably should have cheated while he was in Cloud9 then, because he was on a fucking 0.85 rating for most of his time there. Probably should have just cheated in 1 or 2
Although,
games so he didn't get
point,
kicked, you know? So it just contextually, it makes no sense to accuse the kid of cheating.
Yeah, although rolling with that point though, I will say, like, you obviously remember those Subroza clips that came out. You came out and made a video about it, breaking these down. Like, look, these are shady as fuck. You'll never say somebody's cheating, obviously, because until you know that, you can't say that. You can't say for sure this guy's cheating.
But actually, the
right?
point of that video was to say, if these clips alone are a problem, then we need to accuse lots of other players. It was almost like kind of coming out and saying, you know, Subroza's a victim of a witch hunt. What then went on to happen was we found his account on a cheating forum that had the same password as his Skype. So it was
bad luck.
Yeah.
But anyways, I remember
GG at that point, I think, by the way.
I remember the first event he went to with CLG. It was the Northern Arena Toronto event. Again, we were there. We were with Splice. And I saw him, and he was standing there because Garrett, obviously GRT, I know him pretty well. We're pretty good friends. So I saw him, and I went up and, you know, shook his hand. I'm talking to Garrett, and Subroza and Ethan are there, and this is their first event. I remember I made some joke about how, like, Ethan is young enough to be Garrett's son and small enough and everything. Like, this could just be your kid, Garrett. And Garrett said some shit, and I didn't even realize Subroza was there. And then all of a sudden, Subroza's there, and I was talking to him, and I remember he rolled with this pretty well. I was calling him out for cheating at the time. I was like, "Yo, dude, like, you got some pretty sick clips, man. You're definitely cheating." Like, I just said it to him. I wanted to see his reaction. I wanted to see, like, what happens to, you know, I was just curious. I just wanted to see this shit. And he was just like, and he just laughed. He just rolled with it. He just laughed. And I was like, okay, all right, that's fine. Not exactly what I expected, but all right, I guess we're just laughing this off. So that's fine with me. So that made me a little bit less convinced that he actually was cheating. But all those clips, like, the most obvious clip I've ever seen, like, not even the flusha ones, not even any of that, was the clip of Subroza on cash, bottom mid, smoked off. He's like pre-firing white box or something like that. Like, he's shooting or he's spamming through the mid smoke, and then just flicks up and right onto a guy's head and vent. Like, just all of a sudden he's like, boom, last crosshair on the guy's head and vent. And I was like, oh, that's not something that happens. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but that's not something that Counter-Strike players do. Like, that's not.
There were a lot of clips of him locking on people. I think against C9 on Mirage, he had like 4 times in the same game or something that he just locked on people, like, through a wall, and it's very little info.
And I like Subroza, and I think he's actually a good player now, but all these clips come out.
His debut for Cloud9 was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, no, that was 4-20. Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yo, literally 420 on your first map for Cloud9. Like, fucking blaze it.
But I do like him, and I actually think he's a good player now and all that stuff. But it's like, all these clips come out. Join CLG. Terrible on CLG. Awful. He was a terrible player. And then slowly get better and better and better after that. So, like, to me, if hypothetical speculation, guys, speculation, not accusations, make a lot of sense. He's cheating on these main teams, gets picked up by CLG and goes, oh shit, don't want to ruin this now, stops, and then actually becomes better and becomes a good player. If that makes sense in my head as a timeline.
Sure. A lot of the clips did come out from very early on when he was in CLG.
And then they all went away after that. They all went away. Honestly, even the 2 clips that happened when he was on CLG at the Northern Arena event, I think that was people grasping at that point. Like, the one where he was in ladder at the smoke, that really wasn't an obvious clip for me.
Yeah, I'm talking more about the one on fucking Mirage where he's behind the truck. I mean, that was a pretty crazy one.
It's like, there's a guy at bench, and he's like at the truck, and he just he looks at from B truck to bench through the truck, and it's right on Daps's head or someone on Energy's head. I forgot who it was, but it's just someone. And
I don't
so weird.
Yeah, it's
no one does.
No one does it. It could happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
It's within the realms of possibility.
Yeah, that one is
certainly very weird. But you know, those are the only 2 dudes I think that ever really warranted the conversation, and certainly, you know, it got mega awkward when Subroza was playing on Ghost with Steel, because Steel had literally said on an episode of Counterpoints with Thorin and Moses on it, he fucking literally said, "Oh yeah, the dude cheated 100%. Like I don't even give a fuck." And then it's like you had to play with him, and like I think I had Josh on like a stream one time, and I said to him like, "Yo, you're playing with Subroza now? You still think that motherfucker cheated?" And he was like, now that I've had some time to watch him play, everybody always recants, right?
Well, put it
Everybody
this way. Here's how I'd say it. This is how I would make this decision if it was me. If there's like a hypothetical world where we get to talk to God, right? Richard Lewis is our God in this hypothetical world. And yeah, exactly. And we
Purely
get to
hypothetical.
Hypothetical. And I get to talk to Rich, and I'm like, Rich. No, Thorin. I don't know what Thorin is. I don't know what Thorin is. I don't know. No one knows what he is in this situation. Yeah. But you're our God in this situation. I get to talk to you, and I'm like, Rich, here it is, and you come down to me. You're like, all right, man. Look, here's the situation. You have to pick right now. Did Subroza cheat? You say yeah, and I have the all-knowing answers. I know, but I'm not going to tell you till you guess. If you say yes, you get $1 million. You get $1 million. You say yes. If you say no, you will never have more than $10,000 in your bank account for the rest of your life. What do you say? I'm saying yes. That's what I'm saying yes. Like that. And I have to take the choice in this hypothetical. I have to say yes or no.
I think
I'm saying no.
I think a lot of people.
Or I'm saying yes.
I think a lot of people believe that he did, and whether or not that's true, it's definitely something that's going to carry around with him now. He's not cheating now if he ever did.
Yeah, I agree.
And the reality is, what wasn't helped, what didn't help him was there was like a lot of weird stuff going on. Like, when he had that clip of his stream where he was trying to sound as suspicious as possible, like, just testing some things out right now, and then it's like snap, 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 like just headshots.
Aimbots,
on an aimbot server, and you're like, dude, like, are you trying to fuck with people at this point?
He was, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then they released a video going, no, that's just how he aims. And then he was doing this with his mouse, like, see, it's just my aim style, guys. Like, fucking no, it ain't.
No, you
couldn't play like that, you crazy motherfucker.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it just ridiculous. The whole thing was just such a farce from start to fucking finish. You know what I mean?
That part was him fucking with people. This is sort of what I was getting into when I was talking about when I talked to him at the LAN. I was like, I asked him about it. He just started making jokes about it. Like he was just laughing it off and making jokes about it. So that really is just how he dealt with it. Although nowadays he's a lot more. He does get upset that he's still having to deal with it. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah,
he doesn't like.
Well, it's never going to go away. I mean, if him and Flusha should fucking go out for a beer sometime and fucking sit down and like talk about it. Because once that's out there, I mean, like it's a very hard perception to shift. And there were a couple of other players, like just in the next tier, where it looked like it was going to go that way. Like when Shocks had that weird circle thing on Long on Dust 2, or when he was playing on fucking Envy, I think it was. People were like, "See, everyone's doing it." That like massively contributed to that fucking incel conspiracy theory that all pros are cheating, everybody knows it, and we all take a cut of the proceeds of this fake esport that we've created. It's just like wrestling or whatever.
When I see stuff like that, I just refuse to believe it's real. Like I tell myself
real. They're just really dumb. Like,
no. Like I can't believe people. Like there's people driving around out there with me that are like that. I can't. It's too dangerous.
They walk
outside
among us. I say it every stream. They walk among us, dude. You just got to deal with
it. It's too dangerous out there if those people are real. So they have to be fake. They have to be fake, as far as I'm concerned.
George Carlin always said it best, where he said, "If you want to know how stupid people can be, just think about how stupid the average person is, and then realize 50% of the planet are dumber than them." So it's like, you're fucked. Like, we're really fucked.
That's good.
Well, the thing is, like, if you were to say something, I think a lot of pros cheat. All right, fair enough, right? But like, all pros cheat. Like everything, like every single person. Like guys literally roll around thinking like every team has a cheater. Yeah. Like some dude in my stream was literally telling me that like every top team has.
Yeah, like the enforcer in hockey, right? Like everyone.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I always tell people, like, if there's cheaters, they're probably tier 2, 3 players. Like realistically, like right now. I'm not saying it's impossible to have like a cheater on a top team that hasn't been caught, but like pretty fucking hard / not really worth it. Like you're getting 10+K salary, you're gonna cheat and throw that away. Like, I don't know. Maybe if you saw a really sharp decline in a player and then he's playing really bad and then he becomes a god, that might be a sign that something's going on. But like, I don't really see that often. Players don't usually start doing worse and they get a lot better. They just continually stay there or keep getting worse.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Rich.
No, I was just gonna say it's just like that theory is just crazy, and there's just nothing that bears it out. I think flusha and the Subroza clips are the two most blatant examples we've ever had at the highest level, and even none of that is conclusive, and certainly shouldn't be something like a plate of shit they've got to eat every day. Like you have to put in a fucking context that all the safeguards, and this is what I mean. What I fucking hate about like all these like vax sucks crazies, that they ignore like just. It doesn't matter what happens. You release a video saying like, and this is how we check the PCs, and the PCs don't have any internet connection, and nobody can actually get on Steam, and they have to do this and they have to do that. And there's no mobile phones in the booths, and they're going, yeah, but I've got a clip from a fucking black hat hacker convention from 2 years ago that shows somebody could smuggle a cheat into a mouse to have an aimbot on Doom. Like, yeah, we're really talking about the same thing here, guys. That fucking TED Talk light is definite proof that there are no safeguards in place for esports tournaments. And then when you point that out to them and go like, this is like flat out conspiracy theory, this is like some flat earth shit, they go, oh, well, you would say that. You've lied. You worked for E-League. You covered it all up. It's like, all right, cool. Yep. You're not mentally ill or anything.
As far as software goes, it would be almost impossible on LAN these days to do it. I'm not smart enough to figure out a way to get around it software wise.
I feel like it's probably possible, but like basically impossible.
That's what I'm saying.
You know
I'm
what I mean?
not smart enough.
It's going to be within the realms of possibility, but like you have to understand. So you're in this situation. I have to get a cheat from, I don't know, wherever the fuck I've got it, onto a separate hermetically sealed PC, and I have to do it in a way without arousing any suspicion and without even knowing what the safeguards are on that PC that could find it. Like, for example, I think there was a Face It tournament where they didn't tell anybody, but they used keyloggers. So every stroke of the keyboard was like measured, and they didn't find anything. And there were people pulling out clips from that event. Yeah. I think ESEA did something very similar.
I said this before on one of my streams, that I think if someone was to cheat, it would most likely be paying people off at this point. Sure. Like you'd have like people at ESL or something, then you're like, I give you 10 grand, you let me cheat, and they're like, all right, sounds good, and like they're high enough that they can get it done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are like just sneaking by everyone, and I also don't think that's happening. No, but like that seems to be like the more likely way.
And and then everybody brings up that whole Forsaken thing or whatever the fuck he was called, that Indian player, and it's like, okay, right. He got away with it at one LAN, ESL India, or whatever the fuck it was. Where I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say maybe they didn't put the same amount of budget into that tournament as they
slightly underdeveloped scene in comparison.
Just gonna say that. And then at the second tournament he cheated, which was some event in China, some like tier 2 or tier 3 event in China or something. He got caught. So, and we're not talking about the best admins with the best security measures, with the highest prize money, and he still got caught doing it. And this is a guy who cheated from the fucking start, who cheated his entire pro career. So pro career. Oh, maybe again, I think he's just a moron. I think morons can be incredibly ballsy because they're too stupid to think of like.
Well, I've always said, man, imagine you're someone that like doesn't really care about Counter-Strike, and you're like, fuck it, boys, let's see how far I can like get just cheating. Like, I don't know.
We had a guy like that in Source. Everyone's forgotten about him. There was a guy called Crucified. You ever hear this name?
Yeah.
Matt Crucified Clayton.
Only I read it in a book once. Wrote in a couple thousand years. I don't know.
Is this a Bible joke? Okay, good material.
Take that on stage.
There was.
Let me write that one down.
Is this thing on? Yeah. Jesus, am I right? Okay, so anyway, no, there was this guy called Matt Crucified Clayton, and he'd come from nowhere, and he was playing at like, I want to say like a semi-pro level, but he was just like, oh, fuck, he was just god tier, and they were getting these like open qualifiers. The team he played for, his name temporarily escapes me, and when they were playing against pros, he would just like tee off and have like 30 kills, 40 kills, like insane clutches, like, and everyone was like, oh, this dude's gonna go pro, and then I think he went in a Cal or something. Anyway, the bottom line is like everybody knew he was fucking bullshit. but it was just proving it. And in the end, he just sort of came out and did this post where he said, "Yep, I was cheating the whole time. I don't really give a fuck about the game. I just wanted to see how far I could get and how easy it would be to fool everybody." And he came, this close to like basically being on a pro team. Of course, the problem would have been without the extra scrutiny, the extra checks. He didn't really want to go all in on the theory, and he wrote this big post about it called "Crucified Truly," or something. And that was the closest we ever had in the scene, like a guy like literally coming from nowhere, playing with cheats his entire time, and then going, "Yeah, I was bullshit from day one," and just piecing the fuck out, and nobody even knows where he is or what he's doing these days.
Well, shit, fair enough. At least he came out and fucking said it after. Like, still a complete piece of shit, obviously, but at least coming out and saying it after. Like, we'll never know, we've talked about this a little bit. Like, if people that threw back in the day, well, they're never going to come out and say they did it, right? No, you're never going to know about that shit. Is people who are cheating or who cheated, like, Flusha's never going to come out and say, like, we're not going to hear 10 years from now Flusha just be like, you know what, actually, guys, I was cheating when I won all those tournaments.
Man,
like,
can you imagine it? Oh god,
no, that'd be fucking crazy.
Just the thought of it.
Oh,
like,
give it to
oh
me.
god.
But yeah, no, that's
blows
just
my
never
mind.
going to happen. We're never going to hear that shit. Never going to happen. So it's all just speculation and hypotheticals, and that's all it's ever going to be, unfortunately, unless somebody's dumb enough to get caught one day. But what we have talked about,
but of course, when they get caught, though, dude, when they get caught, they all say the same thing. It was my first time.
Yeah. Oh, it was just in a matchmaking game with my friends.
That's like any tested powerlifter. My pre-workout was spiked with steroids.
Yeah. An enemy of mine spiked me with a performance-enhancing drug just before a tournament. What are the odds, right? It's so crazy because I had an argument with Kaylee, like or Kelly or Kukukli or whatever the fuck you want to call this guy. Why motherfuckers gotta have stupid names in CS? I don't know, but he agreed that he was going to come on and do a Richard Lewis show, right? And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And he said, like, I'll answer any questions. I said, good, because I got fucking plenty for you. And he said like, well, what kind of stuff you gonna ask? So I hit him up, and he said in like this reply going, I just want to make it clear though, like I never cheated at LAN. And I was like, dog, your cheat was designed for LAN. Why would you buy a fucking a cheat that is like deliberately kept small and has no UI so you can use it in a LAN environment? Why would you buy a LAN cheat to not cheat at LAN? That makes no sense. And then I like went over when he was on that fucking, was it the Team Mystic or whatever? That ridiculous fucking performance he had at fucking Gamer Assembly, where he had like a fucking 90% head shot fucking rate, all of them pre-fires and stuff. I'm like, brother, like, come on, like, don't insult my intelligence. Let's, you're fucked anyway, so why not just come out and tell the truth? And he's going, no, I'm absolutely telling you the truth. I have never cheated at LAN.
It's because he still tries to stream and like exist in the scene, right? So that's why he's not going to say shit.
Yeah, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'll still do the interview. And then I think I talked about it on like By the Numbers or something, and said like, this guy's delusional, and he got super upset and super triggered and withdrew from the interview because of it. And it's like, listen, you were just gonna fucking light in my face anyhow. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely no. It's fucking bullshit. But like we were talking about, there's doesn't matter. We're never gonna hear it. They're never gonna admit it. It's never gonna be a thing that happens. And we have talked about this on previous shows, so I'm not going to go too in detail about this, but I think the only way to cheat at any top tier event these days would be there's like, we've talked about it before, but there's a couple. There'd be like somebody in the crowd doing something with a sign, like not even a sign that says, oh, they're going B. Obviously you wouldn't do that. It would be a sign that says like, whoa, we love you, Flusha. And then if they hold up the sign, they're going B. If they're not holding the sign, they're, shit like that. You could do that pretty easily, actually. I don't think people have done it, but that's something you could do pretty easily. Or as Corey said many times, just have a second phone. Like, have a second phone in your back pocket. Here's my phone. You know what I mean? Like, you could do that for sure. Like, I don't know if people are patting you down these days, but they definitely weren't back in the day. So, yeah, no, that would be the only way you could get away with that shit these days, anyways. Otherwise, you'd be pretty much fucked. So let's talk about some current events here in the scene. So EG has recovered. They have beaten this FURIA team. Richard, I know we talked about FURIA when they were sort of coming up in the scene way back when. Cirque putting in big performances again. What are your thoughts on this FURIA team? do you think that they're going to stick around at the top end, or do you think they're sort of destined to be a top 20 team and that's it?
The FURIA one, it's kind of tough for me, dude, because it's like, I think basically what happened, unfortunately, there's no getting away from this. They had a very aggressive, unique play style. They had some great young talent with Queserato and Yuri, who were popping off and hitting like career best form. And not a lot of people were prepping for them in tournaments because they didn't, they just didn't take them seriously enough. They thought, okay, they've had a few fluky results, and you saw this like Astralis clearly when they got fucked over by them at, ECS or whatever it was. They they were having problems of their own. They couldn't factor in thinking about a team like FURIA, and it cost them. And we all really got hyped off the back of FURIA basically beating Astralis in like, a best of 3 and a best of 1, right? So I think when you go back and you fucking factor it all in, the reality is that once people started taking them seriously, they kind of got found out and they just didn't have a plan B. And they've gone from being a top 5 team in the world to, I think they're like 12 on the HLTV rankings now. And I don't think that is by any stretch of the imagination like an artificial placement. I think that's accurate. I might even be inclined, because G2 are just below them, I might even be inclined to put them down another notch or two. And I think it's a real shame. And I don't think there's really a lot you can do about it. It's just that you really overperformed when you had your hot streak, and you'll see teams do this quite a bit. A team will break out, have all these like bizarre results, and then next time they come around, in-game leaders have had time to watch their demos, they know what your tendencies are, they know how you're going to play, and suddenly the things that were working when no one knew who the fuck you were, they don't work no more. And I think that happened to FURIA, and I think this is about where they are and about where they're likely to stay until they break apart with or get sold thanks to their indentured servitude 5-year contracts.
I think they can actually bring it up if they just kick Vinny. I think Vinny's like the last remnant of this team being kind of a tier 2 team, tier 3 team, and they just need to get rid of, because like they replace. Oh my god, I actually feel so disrespectful. Able J for Henny, and it's like Henny's been their top performer since then, and that pleases me to say, given he's my favorite player ever. But like it's just, you just get one good player for Vinny, and this team is legit again. I think because they already made the playoffs of this tournament. They beat MIBR at Pro League, I think it was, or some event.
I'll find it for you.
Or is another event, yeah. And then they're looking pretty good. Like Queserato, it's pretty much every tournament they play nowadays. I'm pretty sure it's just Henny's on top, Queserato second, Yuri's third, Art, who's their IGL, is fourth, which is understandable. But then Vinny is just bottom fragging and he sucks. And like, dude, I watch them play and he just loses gunfights, 50-50 gunfights with 100% certainty he's gonna lose. And it's just, that's not okay at all. And even favored fights he loses to, and that's just dumb. So just get rid of him, get a new player, and then they can be something. I don't know if they want to pick up someone from Sharks or whatever, one of these other South American teams, just get someone else.
Look, like I obviously did the Pro League Group D, so I saw the Sharks team play, and I saw some of the other teams play, and they're all nice guys and stuff, but it was pretty terrible CS as far as the bottom teams go. Like it was pretty bad. Sharks was the only team. And that actually the Daytona team, they had decent team play, but as far as their individual skill went, they just didn't have nearly enough. They just weren't good enough players. But the Sharks team actually is pretty legit.
Yeah.
And they have this Mayern guy, this Mayern kid. He's like 17. He is insane. He is nasty as far as like just mechanical skill goes. And I think he would fit into the FURIA style really well. He's Argentinian though, not Portuguese, but they do speak Portuguese in that team. So maybe he could, have a space there. But that Mayern guy is absolutely insane to watch. Like he's one of the most skilled kids I've seen in a while. Like he's really good.
I agree with Richard though that once teams started taking FURIA seriously, their gimmicks and plays just stopped working as well. That was bound to happen because when they played MDL against us, like they were just running strats from 2015. I keep mentioning this. Like they just went back in the old playbooks and just dug deep and just ran some crazy strats. People found that out. they didn't find enough new ones to make it work still, and then their aggressive style got figured out for the most part. I think if they just add another talent on their team, like they're already doing well at a pretty legit tournament right now. I'm not. I wouldn't put them as beating Vitality, but I mean, if they had Mayern instead of Vinny, I actually could see it happening. Straight up.
Yeah, it is going to be tough for them. There's always these teams where this kind of happens. Like most recently, it's been Avangar, where like they they made the final of a major. They're going to be like a top. And I said this. I was talking to Dust about this the other day. We were talking about stuff, and yeah, I was saying they're not even going to be a top 10 team. This Avangar team, you'd be surprised to see them in the top 15 after this, because when you think about the teams, like if you look down the HLTV ranking here, I'll just go into the ranking real quick just for a little context. Avangar is still in 6th. Below them, you have mousesports, Renegades, Navi, ENTS, NIP, FURIA, G2, MIBR, Heroic, FaZe, like Big. These are all teams that are better than that Avangar team.
Yeah, they'll stay in the top 10.
I know,
just because you're gonna play Russian tournaments and they're gonna win them. And
because they're number 6, they're gonna get invites to events, which gives them more points, which means you get to stay in the ranking. Like once you break that thing and you just start to get invites to events based on HLV, that's when you can actually stay there. You just have to break that.
It's gonna be a slow, gradual fall though.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, over like a 9-month period. By this time next year, they're not gonna be a top 15 team.
Unlikely.
It's just not going to be a thing. This isn't going to be a long.
2 majors from now.
Sounds
2
like
majors.
A lot of hater talk.
I guess so, dude. I know, Corey. You've been on the James hype train for a little while.
Guy's pretty good.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's true.
It's all right.
He calls the ops. His saves.
Yeah. He definitely saves a lot. So people were giving EG a lot of shit after they sort of bombed out of Malma, and then they bombed out really. Honestly, when I was watching that back and I'm thinking about it, I think the way Liquid bombed out was actually worse than the way EG did, because EG just lost a BO1 and then a BO3. It was like one day and they're done. It was just over, and it was right after they get off a plane, go to the venue, play your matches, lose, and then you're out of the tournament. It's like, oh shit. Liquid actually made it to like day 3 and then lost the BO3 to Greyhound. So that's actually significant.
I mean, I always think when you lose to fucking Greyhound, that's like straight up.
We know how you feel about Greyhound.
No, it's unreal, dude. They're a fucking 4-man team. They got like and they got 2 decent players, 2 ordinary players, and then one guy who like just because of
dick.
Just because he makes a dick joke in a fucking interview. Like he managed to find 4 dudes willing to drag you through series. It's crazy.
I did one YouTube video on Dick Stacy, and it was like the best rating he had on any match in like the last 6 months, and he was literally missing smokes. Just missing shots that are just
hot
so
garbage. It's not even funny. Like,
I swear I would be better than him today. Like if I played, I swear.
No, it's honestly like I think part of the reason as well is like he's obviously like just a guy who's using it as an ends to a means. I don't really think he cares too much about Counter-Strike. I think he likes the notoriety. I think he likes the money. I think he likes fucking, the status. He likes all the Reddit memes and that. The reality is he's just not that fucking good a player. I can't imagine him putting in a lot of work. And if he is putting in a lot of work and he's this bad, motherfucker needs to quit. Like go learn a trade.
Go to school.
Yeah, like serious. Get a degree. I mean, well, he's not getting a degree. He's a fucking moron. So, God. Learn a trade, like with your hands or something, like because this ain't gonna last forever.
Oh, like crime, like dealing drugs or something. Is that up?
No, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody.
Okay.
Might not be smart enough by Richard's take.
Well, yeah, you have to know your weights and measures, right? And maths. But or math is a American say for some reason.
Richard thinks this guy's a fucking toddler.
Well, listen, I'm just saying, dog. I mean,
you watch a POV of how he plays, you might consider that.
You know that like TV show, like Are You Smarter Than an 8-year-old? Like, I would be backing the 8-year-olds over dick every motherfucker. Right? So I think unfortunately he's like really, really bad, and it's a shame because Greyhound do have a couple of players that I actually am excited by, and I think could do something. They would have been if Renegades weren't doing so well right now, they would have been in contention. I think for like, progressing level. But yeah, it's like tells you all you need to know that when they used that what was it, White Girl Wasted or whatever her name was as a stand-in for Dick Stacy, they were still winning games. Dick Stacy literally brings nothing to that team. It's terrifying.
Yeah,
so if you lose to Greyhound, like a 4-man team, an objective 4-man team at top level Counter-Strike, like that is an embarrassment. If it was any other team but the Team Liquid, it's like disband.
Or just replace NAF with automatic or something. Like, you got to do something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, another true story.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to mousesports because this team has been incredibly disappointing by many metrics, performances, the eye test, everything. They have not played very well. Although they still managed to keep number 7 in the world. But this is more of a question. So as I've said many times before, you're not going to hear me ever say a team should cut X player. It's just not. I think from a personal point of view, as an X player, I don't think it's my job to.
So you think they should keep Dick Stacy?
Sure. Yeah. Look, like I said, I'm not. Like I said, through this whole conversation, you never heard me say Greyhound should replace him. It's not what I do. It's like a personal thing for me as an ex-player. Personally, I think it's not my job to say anybody else should lose their job. It's just a personal thing. I don't hate when other people do it. It's just not my thing. So I will say though, this mousesports team. Hypothetically, if they were to make a change, I was talking about it on my stream yesterday, and it's hard to even think about who would be the right person to replace on this team if you're thinking about upgrading, because I don't think they're going to do anything right now, but I do think 2 or 3 months from now, if results don't improve, they will be making some sort of change. And I think that it's hard to even, when you look at that roster, to pick the player that you should replace. So I was just thinking. Okay, so Alex says Chris J. Corey, Rich, what do you guys think?
It would have to be Chris J. I think the problem you've got is, by the way, I absolutely do not advocate for changing anybody on this roster, and I do not agree with the assessment that they're like playing poorly or need to make a change. But if it would have to be Chris J. And the sad reality is that I think what would happen there is the team would go into some sort of like terminal fucking death spiral, because I know enough about Chris J to know he's like pretty much the glue of like every team that he plays in. He's the guy who picks up all the fucking like donkey work. He's the guy who's always willing to change his role. He's the guy who's always super positive when the chips are down. He's the guy that goes around like, always laughing, always joking, always trying to lift everyone's spirits. Like there's all those intangibles that you can't really know unless you go to events and you've been following him. Like Chris J is mousesports, so to sit here and like advocate for cutting him is not anything I could do in good conscience.
I agree.
Just talking about what happens on the server, you would have to look at Chris J. That would be the name. But I think what mousesports need to change is they gotta stick the landing when they fucking get off the plane and go to these tournaments. Like they lose their first game all the fucking time, and then you're in an uphill battle just to stay in the tournament. You've got to win that first match. You've got to come out mentally prepared. What they need to look at is what's going on that's causing that problem. Like when it used to be the French teams that were doing that, it was because they were, when they had the early morning games, they would always lose. It's because they were all hungover. So we know the reason why. We know the reason why. Cut drinking out the night before a game. That was all they had to do really to get to that next level. But I guess it wouldn't be as fucking fun then, right? But with these guys, I don't know. Is it a mentality thing? Are they a little bit too jocular, a little bit too jovial? Because I know Carrigan's like really, really soft, especially with like younger players. Do they need a bit more of a drill sergeant element? Do they need somebody there saying, no, guys, like this is it now. It's game time, motherfucker. Someone getting in their heads and getting them right. I've never been around the team, so I don't know. But it's a problem when you get to every tournament and your first day at a tournament you lose a game. They need to fix that.
Yeah, it also adds like nerves going into the next event where you're like, fuck, we always lose the first game. Like, and you're thinking about it. It's like a cycle.
Prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes a fucking cycle. And I was talking about this on stream, and everything you said about Chris, I think, is true. And that was the problem. People are like, I think they would have to replace Chris J. And I was thinking about like, when you're taking everything into account. I don't think you even, and of course this is hypothetically some months from now after they haven't played very well for an extended period of time, but I think that, and this is why I think they're in the toughest situation ever, because I don't think you can logically even make a roster change even if you're not performing well, because the most logical person seems like Chris J on paper, but you know, based on how teams work and how he is, that would actually hurt your team to do that. You wouldn't be improving your team by doing that. So then you can't make that change logically. You can't make a change that you know is going to hurt your team. So then you have to think, okay, so what
You got
isn't gonna
Frozen, you get Oscar, he CT ops with Woxic, everyone is afraid.
Right. Anyway, so they're definitely not bringing Oscar back. Somebody did suggest that. They're like, well, just cut Woxic and bring Oscar back. I'm like, that's not.
You can't cut
happening,
Woxic.
boys.
I think Woxic's been a real X factor.
I agree. No, he's been good. He does make I will say Woxic makes a lot of mistakes and gets caught out of position a lot. Like when you watch him play, like if you're an opper learning how to op, don't watch Woxic because he gets out of position all the time. But he has insane. Yeah, he does.
But then like Maui, your favorite fucking player you just said is Henny. He does
he's
that all the time.
Well, he's my favorite to watch, but he's not like I'm saying you should learn. He's exciting. He's really exciting.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Woxic.
Yeah, I agree. Same styles.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man.
High risk.
I feel like people underrate Oscar though. I feel like this guy is a fucking raid boss when he's in form. Like he's so fucking good.
You know he's crazy though.
Yeah.
You just
look at him. Seen him play?
I'm a straight tell you, dude. Like from knowing him and knowing his teammates, like this guy it's an effort to have Oscar on a team, but everything's got to be perfect. Like when he ain't feeling it, I'll just cast everyone's mind back to when we talk about outrageous shit pros have done in games. That when he was at that fucking Gfinity event at the Birmingham Expo, whenever this was, like I want to say is it 2015, maybe even 2016, where he had an absolute mental breakdown in the game and was refusing to AWP. When he was like playing for mousesports and he was like throwing Nico over the fuck it was the AWP and saying no you AWP, and they're going no dude you AWP, you're the AWPer. And he was just getting bodied and he was like nah I can't AWP today, and he was like throwing the nah fuck that, like you do that once to me you're always circumspect. But then like the reality is, just from talking to people who play with him backstage, it's like everything's got to be right for this dude. Doesn't like doing any media work, right? Like doesn't like to socialize with his teammates, like likes to sit in his room.
This is the prime gamer, dude. You're describing the ultimate gamer.
No wonder he's so good.
No, prime gamer for online pugging, all of that shit. The absolute antichrist for a team that has to travel around the world and everyone needs to be jovial and jocular and camaraderie has to exist. That's the fundamental problem. Plus as well, mind fucks himself. I know how good Oscar is. Like unquestionably could have been hands down the best AWPer in the world, but like he's got too many quirks. And like I say, I'm always just weirded out in general by the dude. Like when I watch his stream and it's like he watches a stream and he'll just hold out his hand and like a bird will just fly and land on it and be like and he'll be talking to a bird for 5 minutes. I'm like, what is your life, dog? Like, you're like a fucking Disney princess all up in this motherfucker. Like I can't process what I'm seeing. So I think as a guy, he's eccentric, he's a strange dude, and that makes me love him and I'm interested by him as a player and stuff. But on a team, man, you don't want that shit.
Dude, you ever watch him op in a game, dude? It'll be a Mirage. He'll just be like in the connector smoke with an op and just like run through and like no scope some guy and like run off, and like you're just like, how did that work? Like how why did you even?
Yeah, well, he couldn't even tell you.
He just does it.
And if you tried to ask him, he'd run off to his room and lock the door. So it's like, that's all I'm saying. But like, no, Oscar's never the answer. Keep in mind, motherfucker's like what, 29, 30 now as well? Like
I was saying, they're not getting Oscar, but that's not happening. Oscar's not going back to mousesports, guys. Sorry,
Oscar, if you're watching, I'll make a team.
Yeah, we know. But anyway, so going back into it, it's like you have to think, so like, okay, so Woxic, you're not going to replace Woxic. If you're in the team, you realize that you can't replace Chris J. You're obviously not going to be replacing Kerrigan. So then it's Rops and Frozen. I was like, Rops has been incredibly consistent. He's actually been playing really well again.
Yo, Kerrigan is like the fucking player whisperer. You know, if you got a problem in your game, you got bad form, like it's like Dr. Dre pulling you out and fucking just giving you a wicked fucking platinum album. Like he just knows he's the doctor you got to go talk to. Like Kerrigan will just fix you. I don't even know how the fuck he does it time and time again. He's done it with the Danish players back when they were having dips in form. Rops was like really, really bad for almost like a year before he got to work with Kerrigan, and Kerrigan's turned him around into like probably the most consistent player on the team, back to dropping, regular 20s. Like, yeah, he's a guy who just knows how to get the best out of players, especially if they're having a bad time. He's the confidence boost that you need. And so you absolutely couldn't replace Rops.
No, you couldn't.
Now.
And now you're at the last person on the lineup, and that's Frozen. And Frozen has been top fragging quite a bit. He's been fragging.
He did bad at this latest event, though.
He did. Yeah, he didn't do well, but he has been fragging for them a lot
Yeah.
overall
17,
since he's
right?
joined the team. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's also a kid. He's a fucking kid. And sorry, excuse me. So like he's a fucking kid. And so this team as it grows, like this guy was on like the Ziwu level of hype before he joined mousesports. Like before Ziwu joined Vitality, before Frozen joined mousesports, they were on the same level of hype. Obviously Ziwu's now gone way past what Frozen's level is, but they were on that same level of hype, So like you can't just like throw that away if you're mousesports, even just from a business point of view. Like if you're mousesports management, fuck like the actual team performance for a sec. You just think about it from a business point of view. You can't let that go. That could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars within a year or two. Frozen could be worth 500 grand. What do you think? We think Blame F went to Complexity for 500 grand. You're telling me you couldn't, if you're mousesports right now, you're telling me you couldn't sell Frozen to Complexity for 500 grand? Fucking absolutely you could. So you can't let that go. So they're in a really tough spot where no roster change makes sense for them. But they're not playing as well as they need to.
This is basically the Carrigan conundrum, right?
Yeah.
You bring him into a team, you get instant results. So if you're playing at 70%, he gets you to 90 on day one, right? And then over time, you rapidly hit your ceiling and your peak. And you have to also factor in Carrigan as a fifth player, which, he's never going to be great at that. He'll have his occasional like.
He really hasn't been terrible though. I just want to point that out. He really hasn't been.
He's certainly not like a shit in-game leader in terms of production and stats, but he's not good enough to be considered a fully three-dimensional fifth player, right? So he exists in that weird limbo where if he wasn't doing all of these other things, he would always be up on the chopping block just on stats wise. But he gets you to 100%, and then where do you go after that? You're at 100. I think this is about as good as this like mousesports team can play tactically, about as good as the individuals can play performance-wise. It's like just a few little adjustments here and there, maybe stuff off the server that's going to get them deeper runs in tournaments. But for me, this 5 players, like if you're talking about getting the semi-finals of tournaments and quarterfinals of tournaments and maybe the occasional final at some of the lesser tournaments, honestly, that's probably about what they should be doing. And it's this desire, this aspiration, like, we got to be number one. We got to be number one. We got to be number one. We got to change this. We got to change that. I think it's like a poisonous element that gets into teams. Yeah. And I just think, I think if mousesports try and shoot to be number one, they're going to end up nowhere. They're going to go back to being number 30. Like, just accept you're on a good thing here. You're a solid top 10 team in the world. A tournament win is going to come your way. Maybe not in 2019, but in 2020, you don't need to fuck with anything. You got like great players, great assets. Just let motherfuckers retire. Like Chris J will be thinking about hanging his mouse up at some point. He's like 28. Like just chill. Like this is like there's no need to fucking rock the boat on this for me at all.
I will say, as far as retirement goes, though, players are making too much money these days to be like. There's more money in the scene now than there ever was.
Sure, they should talk to some fucking financial advisors and take this money and actually start investing.
There's no severance plan for them. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, actually, so it's growing while you're playing, because a lot of players ain't doing that. Half these fucking motherfuckers ain't paying taxes, let alone putting their savings away and growing it.
Taxes, I don't blame them, though. Taxes is tough, man. When you get that first big
taxes?
No, I don't blame them when they're done. They're just like,
I
don't blame them, man. Look, I'm one of the people who paid my taxes. I did everything right. I kept track of my money. I had a financial advisor.
Like, probably not claimed everything that I've ever. Like, it's so hard to keep track of everything. Not intentionally, but you know what I mean. You got like little monies coming from like
that's true.
Cal donation. You know what I mean. I'm not saying I have like the big like salary money, but like the little things, like little donation for $2, like.
Yeah.
It's fucking
tough. I've got a guy goes through it all. I pay every last red cent.
I think back to Mouse though. I think what Richard said is totally true. That you just can't have number one world aspirations with this lineup, and I don't think there's almost even a lineup you could put together with even one player change that would make it like a number one team. So top 7 in the world. That's kind of where they should
cut
be.
Frozen, get simple. Then Kerrigan has an Eminem. You call them Dr. Dre.
No, listen, obviously that like if that move was ever up for grabs, like you'd do it in a heartbeat. Although, funnily enough, you know, I mean, I think we need to see where Simple drops down to before we start making any assessments, right? Because he's not even in the top 5 or top 8 players or something at this tournament stats wise in terms of production.
He went through like changing mice for like the past like 6 months or something. He was using the FK1 Plus or something, and then he switched to the Endgame or something mouse, and he was bad with that. Then he changed to another mouse. He was bad with that. Now he's back to the FK1 Plus or something. I don't know. Like he's just needs to settle on a mouse because he was a god.
Yeah, so he was the 10th.
Yeah.
Statistics wise, he was the 10th best player at this event across the 5 maps Na'Vi played compared to everyone else above him.
At Star Series.
Yeah, this is a Star Series. To put it in context, in terms of mouse sports, Woxic and Rops both outperformed him in terms of production. And
he only went negative in like one game, though.
Yeah,
but we're talking about Simple being negative now. Is this like the reality?
One game.
Yeah, but dude, he never did it. He didn't do it for 2 years. So
he would go negative in a map or here or there.
I don't know.
No, I don't mean it necessarily. I meant like literally a single map.
His team won 1 map and lost 4, and he finished with a 1.19 rating plus 13. That's pretty fucking
He's still
good.
one of the best players in the world, but unfortunately, that fucking piece of shit Zeus just wasted his best fucking years, dude. Like,
maybe
that Na'Vi team should have had every fucking trophy.
You're right.
Simple was god tier. They should have had everyone. They picked up one here or there, and now Simple ain't gonna be, you know, god anymore. And unfortunately, this lineup that's actually better.
This is also him getting used to rifling, though. So we got to see.
True.
Kind of
yeah. That is also a thing. I mean, as things stand, I think probably if Guardian doesn't get his shit together in the next 2 or 3 tournaments, you cut Guardian, give Simple the ult back, and pick someone else up for this team, or you pick Jame up and put him.
There's still Shiro and on that one team that could like be a good op replacement. He's got pretty fucking insane stats as kind of like a tier 2 player. If they want an opper for a rifler, I don't know. I feel like it can't be that hard to find someone to join.
Nah, not in the CIS region. There's still some very good names out there that I could see slotting in. I mean, again, a Vanguard's ripe to be picked apart right now. You know, and the bottom line is like I just feel like Guardian is kind of, I think we're watching the end of his career basically. I can't really imagine him going into 2020 if things stay this way.
I said this at the time. I'm saying it again now. I don't think picking up Guardian made any sense for Na'Vi. I don't think they should have done it. Even I know this is one of those weird ones where the team wanted it. Like Simple didn't want to op. He wanted Guardian to come in as an opper. He wanted to be a rifler again. Whatever the fuck.
Look, I would have kept. If it's like my choice, I'd be like, no, Simple, you're too good with the op. Exactly. Like, but I mean, at the same time, if Simple's sitting there thinking, I don't want to op, it's hard to be like, you have to.
No, that's what's so tough about it is that if Simple says, like, because I also think that if Simple decides he wants to change his game and do something else, you let him do it because it's Simple and he gets to do what he wants, right? So that's why this was so tough. But like on paper at the time, I didn't think this made any sense. I said that on I think it was Counterpoints I did with Thor. Maybe it wasn't. I mean, I think it was Counterpoint. I don't remember, but
you said it on here with Thorn too.
I said it here with Thorn, and then I also said it on Counterpoints. I think with Sponge and Moses. I said the same thing. I'm like, I don't like this move. It doesn't make sense. I don't think. Like, obviously, it makes them better because
the last 2 big series that they've lost, it's pretty much all been Guardian's fault. That's something that I wish I wasn't having to say, but it's just the facts. You know, a little bit of it is Guardian's playing poorly, and if Simple was playing like how he was playing 6 months ago, they'd get away with it because Simple was carrying much heavier weight in having to drag Zeus and Edward through a series. But Simple ain't there at the moment, and maybe he never gets back there. So everyone's got to deliver. Now, Flamey's back. We all knew that was going to happen. I called that. Because Zeus is living in the shadow of Zeus is a nightmare for a guy like Flamey. He's like a real delicate, gentle, quiet, reserved guy. And every time he makes a mistake, you've got some fucking meathead shouting in your face. And like Zeus has never adjusted his style of like informational feedback based on who he's working. You just have to listen to this moron just barking at you while he's going to go negative in every game he plays. And Flamey has never been able to thrive in that environment, you know. So you got Flamey back. I think Boomich has actually been a good pickup overall for Na'Vi and looks to have an IGL style that the players are on board with. Electronics, you know, god tier. Simple is simple. Like even when we're talking about him not playing as well, he's still easily one of the best players in the world to have ever touched this game. So it's like you look over at Guardian, it's like, dog, you're barely getting double figures as the primary AWPer for Na'Vi. Ain't good enough, son. And,
no, it's not.
And unfortunately, I think at 30, you know, he ain't getting it back. So that's my opinion. I hope Na'Vi sign him on a short-term contract, so this can all be resolved amicably. But I think in an ideal world, you stick Simple back on the AWP. You go get one of these riflers that are out there for a Vanguard, a Quicket, a Buster. These guys are ready.
Yeah, but Buster's the one they should have got. That like when they made the move for Guardian, I had said. Like, Buster's the one you want. If you're Na'Vi right now, he's the player that you want. I will say I want to give Boomich more credit, even not just as IGL, but actually as an entry fragger. He's been doing all the entry fragging for them and getting like a huge high impact rounds, putting up decent numbers and in-game leading. Like, he's fucking impressive. Like, I'm actually really impressed with him, more so than anybody else on that team, to be honest. Just you know, obviously Simple's still the better player, Electronics better, or whatever, but Boomich is like more impressive right now for just like the jump in difference between him when Zeus is playing to him when he's in game leading and doing his style and all that. He's become incredible for them. So that's actually really sweet. And also, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was like, well, finish your thought if it's
yeah. So yeah, it's related, but real quick. So like, the thing too is on CT side as an opera is where you get most of your kills is on CT side. Like CT side is a little bit easier than T side as far as opping goes. But when you have a double op that's being run constantly on CT between Simple and Guardian, that actually limits a lot of what Guardian can do because Simple's on the other side of the map doing it. So like if you only had one opper, sometimes on let's say Dust 2, sometimes he'd op mid, sometimes you'll go op cat, sometimes you'll op long, sometimes you'll go op B instead. You'll move around constantly. If you're double opping, what happens is Guardian's just opping car, or he's opping cat, or he's opping long, and then Simple's always opping mid or opping B. So you're actually limited a lot in what you can do. And a lot of the things with ops these days, because of how the meta works, a lot of oppers get their kills based on like not necessarily catching somebody off guard, but you have to avoid utility, right? Because teams are going to use all their utility to push you off. So you have to find little tricks in place to get a quick peek in, and then you have to hit your shot. Like you have to do something to get like a really quick moment where it's like I'm going to get this shot right here, and I have to hit it. And that's sort of how opping works these days. It's like when you're going for picks, I mean. So when you have double ops being run constantly on CT side, that makes it really hard for those oppers to thrive in that environment. So that does make it harder for him, I will admit.
Question for Richard. Back to when you said Guardian's not going to get it back. This is kind of a question, I guess, for everybody too. But what do you think makes Age and Counter-Strike a game that isn't as physically? It is demanding mechanically, but it's not as physically demanding as like a professional sport. Like, why do you think a person couldn't have a resurgence?
I honestly think like in Counter-Strike, like the age and diminishing reaction things is one of the most overhyped load of nonsense that we sort of face in kind of like the wisdom of the crowd, right? Like I'm not saying he ain't getting it back because you know, he's too old to move his arms correctly anymore or anything like that. I mean, that's just not true at 30. And in fact, in a lot of sports, you know, between 27 and 32 is considered peak physical capacity. What I'm talking about is what happens when you've had an unbelievably long playing career, when you've been playing like over a decade, probably a decade and a half. And you've been playing at the highest level for a long time and actually dealt with some pretty heavy physical injuries to his arm during that point. But it's more about your life priorities changing. It's like, how fucking hungry can you stay when, you know, you've had everything pretty much along the way career-wise? And Guardian's a dude who is married now. He's 30 years old. I'm sure there's talk about kids on the horizon. You know, he's got money in the bank. It's like, you know, what's he gonna do? Like, he's gonna spend 6 months fucking like just boot camping, like drilling himself, getting into peak physical fucking conditions so he can maybe gain like an extra fraction of a second on his flicks. Nah, it ain't gonna happen. And unfortunately, form in Counter-Strike is like, it's almost like an intangible thing to measure, right? But like, you know, when you are playing your best CS, and you also know when that's happening to you, I'm gonna keep mimicking what I'm doing practice wise to try and maintain this for as long as possible, but I know it won't last forever. It just doesn't. And for some people, their best CS lasts a month, and for others, it lasts a year, 2 years. But you know, people like Cold Zero, where are they at right now compared to where they were when they were the best players in the world? Olaf Meister. When you've got it, you got to use it. And Guardian had it, and he hasn't had it to the same degree for a long time. And now he's at what looks to me to be career worst form, or certainly close to it. I just don't think at 30, with all the shit he's got going on in his life and in a new team, you realign your priorities to get it back, and then you give it one more year and then you retire. Feels very unrealistic. So I think all of the factors just mean that, you know, Guardian's probably done. And good for him. He's had an amazing career. It could have been better. It wasn't. No hard feelings. He played in some of the top teams. One of the greatest AWPers of all time. Don't be like a Neo. Don't be like a Pasha. You know, don't fuck with your legacy. Go out while you're still on top. Go out a champ, because that's how I'll remember you, you know, unless you really fuck it up and leave this Na'Vi team and then play in a team I never heard of, and then another team after that, and then another team after that. Like, don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, no, there's not much of retiring on top in esports. Doesn't happen very often.
Nah.
I think it's mostly just the financials is a little different, right? Like, it's a lot easier to retire on top if your salary's $5 million a year,
but
right?
again, like, imagine retiring now while you still got some fucking
shine
on your legacy, and then you call up like a peripheral company, you know, in the CIS region, and you're like, hey, I'm retiring. Like, kids are still gonna remember Guardian when he was good. Let's do a Guardian themed mouse. Let's partner up with Na'Vi. Let's make it all work 3 ways. Or you call up, you know, a local, because if I remember rightly, Slovakian. You know, you call up a local Slovakian broadcaster, right? Hey, I'm ready to do some broadcast work. Let's do it. Let's get Guardian. He's a quiet dude, so that's not going to be his jam anyway. Or, you know, hey, I'm retiring. But I wanna coach. Or I'm retiring, but I want to create, you know, Guardian.cs, a team. Let's talk to some VC guys. Like, you still make the money. Trust me. Right now, the way the esports economy is, the way the landscape is, you can still make the money. You don't got to keep playing and pissing on your legacy just to pick up a check. In fact, actually, all you're doing all you're saying to your fans when you do stuff like that is like, actually, I was way more money motivated than I ever was about trophies. And I think people get really put off by that. You know, one of the coolest things Jason Lake said was like, you know, when Ricky, being a fucking asshole, was trying to like go on, and I know they're having talks with Neo. And Jason Lake came out and said, no disrespect to Neo, like, one of the greatest all time. His name has got such like value to me as a guy who's been in Counter-Strike since day one. But I don't want to play with old dudes that are just getting, you know, I don't want old dudes who are just looking for a check on my teams.
Right.
And sadly, that's kind of where Neo's at right now. He should have retired a long time ago. Guardian shouldn't do it to himself. Because trust me, that he can still get paid. His name.
There's a difference though. I think like some people think like, oh, I still have it, or they just want to keep playing. Like, they just like the game. You know, like there's I don't know, in like strength sports, there's a lot of guys in the 50 pluses that they'll never lift as much as they did when they're 40, but they still do it, you know, like they just because they love it. And I think maybe like purposely going to like the tier 2 would be a better choice, and just being like, look, I'm just playing because I like the game. Maybe that's a better option than like trying to be tier 1.
Yeah.
But because you know, some of the tier
that too.
Yeah, so I don't know if they should publicly state like, look, I'm because then it seems like you don't care and people don't want to play with someone that's like, look, I'm not trying to be the best, but like, you know, you could join a lower team and try to work with them. That's kind of what TenZ did, right? Yeah. Like, and I don't disrespect TenZ. It seems like he wants to play. It looks like he still cares, like, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, he does. You see, he's still got that TenZ emotion when he's playing at LAN events and stuff. He's still got it for sure.
Like, I don't know if I'm a little bit biased on this topic because, you know, I used to be a boxer, and I, you know, always, used to love that sport, and that's one of the sports that I still kind of watch, even though MMA really eclipses it these days.
Yeah, it does.
I still love the craft. I still got a boxing setup in my gym. I still go out and hit the bag whenever I got time. And work on my combos and stuff. It's just been a big part of my life. And the saddest thing you'll ever see are these motherfuckers that like don't know when to retire. Like, Holyfield. It breaks my fucking heart to see Evander the real deal Holyfield like getting in the ring at fucking 50 whatever the fuck and doing these 4-round fights with absolute bums that couldn't have touched him when he was even at 50%.
Well, have you seen like what happened to Ronnie Coleman, the bodybuilder? He's had like 12 back surgeries. Literally 12. He had a surgery. He had so much scar tissue on his back they had to cut his stomach open, take his organs out, do the surgery that way, and put them back in.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's like, listen, we don't gotta do it forever. It's like I ain't even that
and then
old.
he goes back to the gym when he and hurts himself.
Like, dude, like stop, man. You're a legend. Like you ain't got nothing to prove. You're just doing it to your own self now. You're in your own head.
No, I agree. I totally get it. Like from like a normal person perspective, I see that and I'm like, you're being an idiot. But that's what kind of makes those people really good is the fact they're so fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like they're so invested in being the best that even when they can't be, they're still trying to be. So I don't know. It's like a weird thing for me because I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, man. If you love it, then you do you.
Yeah, I just think there comes a point where you have to have the exit plan. I think that's a big part of what happens psychologically. Nobody thinks about that next step because it's actually scary, And this is why you see, like, for example, in the NFL, there's a documentary about it called Broke, I think it's called, and it's something like 35% of NFL players end up bankrupt within like 1 or 2 years of quitting football, and that doesn't even include people who like don't even get careers because of a horrific injury. Also, as well, if you go look at the stats on NFL, it's something like the average career, like you talk about burnout in fucking esports, the average NFL career is about 4 years. When you factor it all in, people who get drafted for a season drop out. People who get drafted for a season or two get an injury. The people who end up playing a full healthy career in the NFL is actually not the biggest part of it. And of course, then you got to deal with all the CTE and all the fucking fucked up stuff that happens to your body along the way. No one's talking about that as much as they should be because there's too much money in that right now. But again, there's going to be huge changes to football and how it looks in the same way that MMA had to go through an evolution and boxing had to go through an evolution. The evolution's coming to the NFL.
I think it's really easy to get into spending habits that are
unsustainable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you own a business, they might be sustainable forever. But if you're playing a sport where you have, like you said, 4 years, you should be saving most of that money and not buying like 5 cars. But at the time you just see it and you're like, man, I have so much money. But again, and it tricks you.
Yeah, the system's so completely fucked up though, right? Because it's like what happens is a lot of these people come from very impoverished backgrounds, and they're the breakout star. They're the ones who had it drilled in, like you work hard, you make your paper, and then you get to feed your peoples, right? So it's like, like I can identify with it. I was like the first guy to go to university in my entire fucking family bloodline. You know what I mean? Like think about it. So it's like there's this pressure that you're going to be kicking back to your fucking moms, or you're going to be kicking back to your fucking, sometimes even your uncles, sometimes your fucking friends, and I feel that like I'm like way over generous with my money. I don't let people put their hand in their pocket around me because that's kind of the culture of it all. And unfortunately, what starts happening is you ain't just overspending. It's not just your decadent tastes. You ain't just buying yourself a chain. You're buying your boy a chain. You're buying your fucking, you get that fucking house for your mom. You do this, you do that. And then all of a sudden you're all jammed up with all the expense and the cost. You got back taxes to pay because you had a dodgy accountant who thought he could squeeze you through a loophole and then he didn't. You want to talk about smart people in the sport, like Iverson, straight fucking legend. He immediately took all his money and put it in a trust he couldn't touch. He put like 40 mil or whatever the fuck it was just in a trust and was like, yo, I'm signing away my authority to ever touch that money until like I'm retired or whatever.
He has to be like 55 when he gets it. Like Reebok, did it, helped him with it.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, more and more people got to do that because, especially in America, more than anywhere else on planet Earth, probably you got to save for tomorrow because you get a health scare, you're fucked.
No,
So,
that's fucked. The whole health thing there, where people just get one car accident and then you're 50 grand in debt for medical bills, and that's just fucking unbelievable.
Dude,
But
if I didn't have Canadian Medical, my eyes shit total cost probably like 4 or 5 grand.
Yeah.
You know, like once all said is done, and that's with me spending probably around 1,200 of my own money on things they don't cover because they don't cover everything. You know what I mean? They cover like the surgery, they'll cover the pre-post-op, like the continual checkups, but they don't cover like the little drops I have to buy for my eye, the actual contact. They don't cover everything, and those things add up when you're buying antibiotics after the surgery. They don't just give them to you. So like
they hit you with that bill.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's like I say, I think you know, the player, like, getting back to the original point before we start trying to deconstruct the American healthcare system. You know, good luck with that. I think the reality is that there's a lot of players that, like, to them, retirement is something I'm not going to think about. If I don't think about it long enough, it's never going to come. And it's like an abyss. And it's like, listen, what you should be doing towards the end of your career, and I think all the switched on athletes do this, like, decide, is coaching for you? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Go get a coaching badge anyway. Why not do a coaching course? Why not do this? Hey, maybe you can go back, do some nighttime colleges, get another degree. Like, maybe it's something completely unrelated to the sport. You know, you're still going to have to eat. You're still going to have to work. You're still going to have to occupy your time. And I just think in esports, like, one of the things that I would really like to see, like, you know, we've got lawyers now, we got agents now, we got even accountants now. Great, all shit we needed for years. We don't really have a almost like a career guidance, you know, body. They have these in the NFL, they have these in the NBA, you know, they have these in big sports leagues where it's like,
well, until like the last 6-ish months, a year for me at least, like, no one ever offered health insurance or anything.
Yeah, right. You don't get
like,
any of those benefits, right?
It was like salary, and then maybe they'll pay for like most orgs paid for expenses when you travel, to be fair, but like not every org does, you know. So I've been fortunate to be on like good ones, so they'll pay for taxis, food, you know, all that kind of stuff. You just have to reimburse it, but not every org does that, right? So like, if you're making $3 grand and you're going to 2 tournaments a month and they're not doing expenses, you're actually spending a little bit of your own money, you know, just traveling. You know, airport food adds up, as you know, like, especially if you don't want to eat McDonald's all the time, like, which realistically you shouldn't. So
yeah, this is something I was going to talk to you about, Rich, too, and this is actually perfect that you brought that up. It's crazy. So what he taught me is when I was growing up, when I started to make money, he would always help me out with my contracts. He would help me out with all of this stuff. And he would tell me, he's like, listen, if you're going to make 80,000 US this year, your salary's, you know, whatever it was, 7K a month or something like that. You're going to make around 80,000 US. Operate under the, like, in your mind, you're only actually making 30% of that. That's not your money. Like, most of that's not your money. 30% of that is future you money. 40% of that is tax money, and then 30% is your money. So if you're making 80 grand a year, you have to operate, you have to live your life like you're someone who's making 25 grand a year. Don't operate like you're someone who's making 80 grand a year, because then that's not how you save money going into it, like later on down the line. If you operate like you're earning way more money than you actually are, and you like make financial decisions based on that, you'll end up saving a lot of money. And you'll actually be responsible you'll be responsible for your post career stuff, you know? I'm lucky enough that I did that throughout my whole career right now. So I'm actually in a position where right now I'm almost 24 years old and I'm doing this content creator stuff because I love doing it, not because I need to do it financially, right? I'm not in a situation where I'm struggling for money. You know, I'm retired right now from professional play by choice, not by any force of circumstance. And now I'm doing what I want to do because of that. And I think there's lots of pro players, like you were talking about, you brought this up, where there's no sort of career advisors. There's nobody helping them through this shit. And I think there's a real opening in the market for somebody who isn't a piece of shit to come in and actually help these people plan out their careers.
I mean,
going through.
with the added point that an esports career is like, I mean, okay, so when we talk about NFL, again, I'll keep using that example because, you know, it's football season right now. When we talk about the NFL, right, here's what's going to stop you. Basically, once you've been drafted, it's injury or performance. So you can't really control injury. You can't really do anything about that. Like, if you play in a way that's going to try and minimize you getting hurt, then you're going to underperform. So you can't even think about it. But if it happens, fuck it, dude. Like, it just is what it is. And it sucks if it's a bad one, like a leg snapper or a fucking neck injury or, whatever it is. But performance is on you, and you can fucking, I suppose there's a little bit like, it's not just performance. Some coaches just straight don't like you and put you in roles where you don't shine or don't pick you. You can't really legislate for that either. But generally, you have a big degree of control over performance. And NFL's here tomorrow, and it's here the day after, and it's here the year after, and it's here the decade after. It ain't going anywhere. Esports, you try planning for a career. Good luck. Because first of all, the game that you play and you might break out at might not even be here. It might last 3 months. Tournaments might not exist. The salary that you get in year one might not be viable for the org in year two. Also, by the way, the contract you signed is absolute grade A bullshit. So they can stick you in a contract fucking gulag anytime they want. Pay you take 80% off the top of the salary and pay you 20. While you sit there, and also demand $500,000 fucking dollars to sign you in a bullshit esport where no one's got $500,000 to spend on a team, let alone one player. Then on top of that, you've got like the meta can change at any moment. The developer can swoop in. Remember that gun you were the fucking best player at the world at? Yeah, we nerfed that, and we nerfed it based on clips of you using it. So go fuck yourself. That's now nerfed. Congrats, your entire shtick has gone down the fucking wazoo. And then, also I have to be practicing. I have to be fit. I have to be healthy. I have to be good. I have to network. I have to, dude, planning an esports career is so fucking insane. It is like literally, if you think it's all going to be okay and you're not actively thinking about where you're going to be in a year, 2 years, you're like literally going through life with just like, Jesus, take the wheel. It's all going to be fine. It's a leap of faith bullshit that you really shouldn't be doing. And I think this is like the thing that has to be drilled into players way more, especially the younger players. Like, you got to make hay while the fucking sun shines, and you got to plan ahead. And I think a lot of these guys that are like hitting 30 something and wrecking their legacies and playing way beyond the years they should be, they're doing that because we've never had a culture of having a plan for retirement. We've never had an esport last this long. We've never had an esport that's this structured, this stable. So nobody ever thinks about, well, what do I do next? How do I get out? When do I get out? And we need to start making people aware that in the big name esports, the ones that have been around for a year, the ones that we can reasonably assume are still going to be here next year, you got to start planning about doing another job in that space or getting another opportunity off the basis of what you did while you were a player. If you don't, you're just fucking your own self. So there's lots to talk about and lots to explore in that area. And there needs to be some legitimate experts set up a service that helps these players, I think.
I agree. I think I might start actually doing stuff like that, because I knew from the time I started playing 17, 18, when I started to break into the pro scene, I knew I had exactly what you're talking about. I knew, okay, this is what I'm going to do with the money I'm making. When I'm done playing, the two things I want to do are live streaming, content stuff, and working on analyst desks. Those are the two things I wanted to do when I was done. I knew that when I was 17, 18. I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I decided to stop playing. But like you said, I think that's very much the minority as far as the Counter-Strike scene goes specifically. But we've been going for like almost 2.5 hours at this point. So I think that is
I'm looking at Corey. Like, I'm wondering what he's actually looking at. He looks nervous. What's going down? Are you watching football or something?
Really hungry.
Oh, he's got to eat a lot. He's brought up like a Benjamin Babish video, and he's just torturing himself. Like, oh god.
I was looking at the score of Liquid versus ATK. They lost the first match.
Liquid did?
In overtime. Yeah, they're playing with a Dren though.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is for ECS. Who's not playing?
Nitro.
Oh.
Naf, because he was cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to get into that live with Rich, but I think honestly, I beat the fucking dead horse as far as that investigative journalist goes.
I mean, you're just going to be shitting on that kid for the rest of his life anyway. There's nothing I can fucking say to add to it, right?
No. I've talked about this before. When you come out and publicly call me a liar, when you are the one lying, go fuck yourself forever. Like, I'm going to make sure I remind everybody, every single article you write from now on, that you are the guy who lied about NAF getting replaced on Liquid, and you're gonna have to live with that from me forever now. So that's fine. Like if that was worth it for you, I'm not.
Do you
Thankfully,
remember
I'm
his
not.
username?
Oh yeah, Will Land. Oh yeah, no, I got it. It's this is a thing that's happening.
Will land.
Yeah, Will Land. Like
Yeah, that one
lucky,
didn't land.
lucky for
Stick it.
him. Lucky for him. I'm not that big. Like right now, it's not that much of a problem for him if I'm giving him shit. You know, it wouldn't be like if you called Richard a liar about it and then came out.
I think the fact
that'd
that
be a
though
little different.
Naf might have something to say about it every now and then, right? Naf might
Oh,
chime
yeah.
in as well.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, anyway, so fuck that guy.
Cares about anything enough.
Yeah, true.
Like, what, is it getting cut? Whatever.
Yeah.
Watching Animal Planet.
So when they were
He does
talking-
love his Animal Planet.
Yeah.
He does love his Animal Planet. That's true.
You can't blame him. I love those animal shows. They're the best.
No, it is
Yo,
great.
you should tell him to watch that one called Blue Planet from just in case he
Oh,
ain't
of
seen it
course.
from way back.
Oh,
Like the third episode where they
trust
go
me,
down in a
he's seen it.
fucking submersible, and it's just all the freaky, crazy shit that like no one's ever seen.
Those are
before
the
down
best
there. Like,
episodes.
yeah, like fucking Cthulhu's down there. You know what I'm saying?
I can guarantee you not seen that. I'll guarantee it right now. I don't even need to ask him. I know.
Yeah,
he's seen that shit.
whenever I want to just fuck myself up mentally, like I just watch
Yeah.
that episode because that's like
Take an
it
edible and
combines
go watch
everything, like
some
thalassophobia, like got a mad phobia being out in the ocean, like for
Oh,
real.
me too.
And,
I'm
and
with
then
you.
them things
Or is
that
this
are
really
down
common?
there.
Because my girlfriend said the same thing. Like, oh, is everyone
Yep.
just afraid of water?
No,
Like,
okay, listen. Okay, I feel like. Okay, first of all, fuck the ocean. That thing is out to kill
What
you.
about
There's nothing you
lakes?
can do about it.
Legit.
Lakes are fine. I'm good with lakes. Lakes. I
Nah, you
there's a
need
lake
to
right
vibe
there.
on lakes because like
Really?
you creature from the Black
There's a lake
Lagoon or
like 20
something.
feet away from me.
He
I
went
just walk
ocean
in the
bound.
lake.
He was like inland. You know what I'm saying? So,
No. I'm cool with lakes. I don't give a fuck. I grew up on lakes. I live in the Great Lakes. Like I'm I'm good with lakes, but fuck the ocean.
Dude, Canada has got more lakes than anyone else.
We-
Dude.
I don't know.
We have
Yeah, I think
all-
we do have a lot of lakes, but
yeah, I
Um,
ain't gonna be out there on them.
as far as the ocean
No
goes,
chance.
fucking ocean. The first time I ever went in the ocean, I was like 8 years old. Took like 2 steps into the water. I was already scared. Got stung by a jellyfish instantly. So fuck that
Nice.
place. Second time, fucking got attacked by a barracuda when I was 13 in Mexico. So fuck the ocean. Never going back in again. That thing's out to fucking kill me. Thing's out to kill me.
And that's the shit that like you can see and fight back against.
Yeah. Well, the
Like,
barracuda's just it was
You
long
know there's
and
some fucking
blind.
big Leviathan type fucking thing that we ain't got a fucking clue about that's just like lurking in some fucking high pressure depths that we can't get down to yet. And we're poking and prodding around. Like we don't know anything about what's down there for real. Like
Fuck
so
the
nah,
ocean. I'm
fuck
not-
that, dude. We're gonna dredge something up one day and it's gonna kill us all. For sure.
No, I agree. I'm good with just never going in the ocean. I'll be fine. I'll be totally fine if I never have to go in the ocean for the rest of my life. No complaints here.
I love the
But-
ocean.
Yeah, of course you do, fucking Hawaii ass motherfucker.
I know,
All right. Anyways, so we are gonna call a wrap on the show though. Corey needs to go eat or he's gonna start breaking desks and couches and tables.
I don't get angry. I just get really lethargic when I eat. Like
How
other
many,
people get
meals?
angry,
How many meals you eat in a day right now?
Usually 6.
Jesus Christ, dog.
I eat
My
one.
problem. I'm doing that, but I ain't working out. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I'm following the Phelps fucking dietary plan, like 4,000 fucking calories. When it's like, wait, I'm a fat piece of shit. Why is this? Oh yeah, the exercise. I get it.
I just had
It's 7
9
p.m. I haven't even eaten yet today, so I'm gonna go eat my meal after this is over. I think. But Richard, thank you so much for coming on the show for the first
Anytime,
live
man.
show. Of course, I do appreciate you coming on. You know, I'm a big fan, big supporter of your work. Always have been, and
Thanks,
like
man.
you a lot too as a person. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're-
I'm not a bad guy actually.
no,
Yeah, who doesn't like
I
Rich?
was- you know what?
Everybody
No,
does.
A lot of
actually,
people- Yeah,
actually,
a lot of
I'm going to
people.
address this really quick. Corey, feel
Try
free to go
hard.
eat if you want to go eat, but I'm going to address this real quick. This is probably going to be another probably like 2 minutes, not that much. But yesterday on my stream, somebody had come in and somebody like started talking shit about you in my stream, and so they got banned. But then I started talking about it, and I was like, I don't understand this hatred that you get. I've never understood. I talked about this privately with you too, but I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I was talking about this yesterday on my stream, but I'll say it again right now. There's a little bit more people listening now, so maybe it holds a little bit more weight. But there's the only person in the entire esports scene I've ever met that I have more respect for than you is Arya. And that's only because I know him so personally and I know how great of a dad he is and how great of a husband he is and how good of a person he is. And that he would like if there was a situation where somebody needed
Are you
like,
his mistress?
No, but quite literally, like it's a situation where, you know, people always say like he'd give you the shirt off his back. Like Arya would go steal a shirt to give you the shirt off. You know what I mean? Like,
and then
like
replace the shirt for the guy who stole
exactly,
it from.
exactly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
he would like he's one of the greatest guys I know, and yeah, you're a close second as far as personal respect for me goes. I don't know how much that means to you, but you know, absolutely. Yeah,
People
I
are
can't
always
even
gonna have
I can't
problems
even
with-
think I can't even think of a bad word to say about you, and I mean that
people
in the
are always
nicest
going to
way.
have
I'm not
problems
trying to
with
blow too
dudes
much smoke off your ass, but
that express their opinion, and people hate other people that have put themselves in a position where they can do and say things that they can't. It's they don't want to acknowledge that it's an envy thing, but you know, they don't get to go. Like, a lot of the hate just stems from the fact that I can sit on Twitter and say whatever the fuck I want and there are zero consequences. They don't get to go to work and do that. So rather than contemplate on their life choices and why they can't do that and why we have a societal structure where that's frowned upon and what's the bad thing about opinions, that's too much. You can't do that. What you can do is get on social media and say the guy who's doing the thing you really wish you could do and would do if you were ever in a position, you can say that guy's a cunt and a piece of shit and should be cancelled. It's way easier. And that's pretty much always been my theory about where a lot of it comes from. You know, people just don't like anybody that's got to that point in their lives, you know, like, how dare you say this? It's like,
dude,
yep.
what I don't understand is like, there's people I don't like. Everyone has people they don't like. There's some people that have no reason not to like, and there's some people you have legitimate reason not to like. I've never like followed around on Twitter and just been like, "Fuck you, bro!" Like, fucking like got legitimately worked up about shit. Where I'm like, "Man, fuck this guy." I'm pissed off. Right? Like, I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy. I'm not gonna watch his content. Like, that's usually
that's about as far as it has to go. Yeah, but people can't. Like, haters are just super fans that, like, it's like self-loathing. It's like the guy in church who like masturbates while like whipping his back, going, "Oh God, oh forgive me, Jesus." It's like, that's what the haters are like. You know, they watch your content because they have to see what outrageous shit you're gonna say, so they can be upset by it, but they can't quit it. They can never just stop watching. So it's like they're performing this weird fucking self-flagellation, and they take out their self-loathing for doing it on you. And that's the psychological tools that are at play there. And it's, you know, whatever. It just is what it is, dog. I appreciate you saying nice things about me, though, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to blow too much smoke up your ass because, you know, fuck you. But
I appreciate the ASIO article you did way back. That was very close to me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
All right, well, we are going to wrap the show up here. This has been Peaker's Advantage episode 18, live, of course, for the first time. Don't know if this is going to be a continued thing we do, but it might be. It's gone pretty well so far. So maybe it'll be a thing we continue to do in the future. It obviously depends on the guest. Richard, of course, is always up for a live show. He's got no problems with that. So, Rich, thank you for coming on. Make sure everybody if you watch this, I'm sure we probably have quite a bit of crossover as far as viewers go for the actual podcast itself on YouTube. But if there is anybody who is watching this that happens to not follow Richard, or maybe you really do believe all those things that people say about him on Twitter, maybe just go give him a follow, and hopefully you don't get blocked, and just be a nice person. And, yeah.
Also, me and Davey will be streaming a Peaker's Advantage match versus Big Frame.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, I'm playing in that too. I'm
Alex
playing in that match.
Yeah, so if you want to watch people lose, if you want to watch people lose and come,
yeah, that's true.
No, we're gonna win today. We're gonna what? Yeah, dude, we're actually gonna win. Dude, Big Frames is bad. We're actually favored to win on betting sites. We're gonna win.
Oh my god! All right, well, now that Alex has ruined that,
there's too much pressure. I'm not playing.
I don't know if I can handle the pressure of this MDL game. But Richard, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, if you've made it this far in the YouTube video, if you did happen to miss it live and you've made it this far in the YouTube video, don't forget to like the video. I'm sure this will get demonetized just by the nature of Richard being here. But still like the video anyways. Appreciate it. Doesn't really matter. We don't make much money off ad revenue anyway. So
yeah, if you don't like Richard, tell him on Twitter.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. And also, if you do like all the content we're making around here, patreon.com/peakersadvantage. Don't forget to check that out. Every dollar helps. We have some cool tiers there. And Richard, this might be something you're interested in. For $5,000, you can get Gamer Boy bathwater. For a $5,000 tier.
Is it Semphasis?
Yep, Semphasis.
All three of
us. Snake, and mine. You get all three for the reasonable price of
$5,000.
Let's
not all ride on Semphasis fucking coattails here, guys. Like, ain't no one buying Davey or Maui's bathwater. Come on, real about it, dog.
All right, well, you can make at $5,000. You can make special requests. All right, you can pick one if you want it. So for just Corey, that's fine. But I'm still taking my cut. So fuck it. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
All right. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Richard, thank you so much for being here. there, and we'll see you guys for Return Fire next week, and of course the next week's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time.
Smacking.